Hi everyone, welcome to the Sunday evening live stream here live in Tenby, Wales. I'm joined tonight by three epic people from the VC community itself. So we've got Rob from Northern Revolutions.
Hello.
We've got Richard from Richard's Vinyl Tap House, and tonight's special guest all the way from Florida is
All the
Music
way.
Talk with John.
Hello, how are you?
Good, all good. So tonight's program is album autobiography. So I'm not going to take any credit for this at all. This was Richard's idea. So, Rich, do you want to explain to the people? I nearly said people tuning in, people who've clicked on the video to go live, what this is all about.
Well, the idea is kind of like going through the stacks of records that you have and looking, your musical background, getting into music and vinyl collecting, what were your folks listening to? What were your siblings listening to? What were the first records you bought? And kind of like over time, where are you now? So like your life story in music, records.
I think it's gonna be a good one, and especially watching what other people are kind of picking and their life journey from when they were younger up until they spent far too much money on the vinyl community. So yeah, like I said, a special guest tonight is John. How's it going, mate?
Good. I'm good. I'm glad to be here. Glad I could actually make it. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. I need to change countries, don't I?
Yeah, Sundays are free for all.
Yeah,
there's my alarm. I gotta go, guys. I'm done.
I gotta go. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you again soon.
Yeah.
So what we'll do, because this was Richard's idea, we will have Richard to go first today to start things off. Just quickly, so look at the that vinyl channel. Hey guys, hey mate, how's it going? You all right, boss?
Hello.
So, Rich, over to you, mate. The floor is yours.
The floor is mine. Okay, cool. So I kind of approached this, because I'm like one of the senior members of this panel. I've been collecting records for over 50 years, no lie. So I kind of wanted to start off with like records that I remember from when I was really young. And I might show like maybe 2 or 3 at a time because I have so freaking many, if you don't mind. But anyway, record number 1, Elvis's Greatest Golden Records, Volume 1, because the dude has like 4 of them. So, age 4, I remember this album with this album cover, staring at it, just kind of going, wow, this is so cool. And Hound Dog and Big Hunk of Love and all of those super early Elvis songs that just became like, wow, this is really cool, and I enjoy listening to it. But so this was like a record that my parents had. That this is a reissue, obviously. It's a gatefold. Got to show that. Hi, Elvis. Early Elvis, Heartbreak Hotel, all that good stuff. This definitely set the ground for the kind of music that I knew I liked right away. It was that up-tempo, guitar-driven type of stuff. But my parents also, listened to other things too. My father was a huge Neil Diamond fan, so the feel of Neil, this is like one of the first Neil Diamond albums ever on the very old Bang label. Solitary Man, Red Rubber Ball, which was done by Circle, La Bamba. There were some songs on here I remember reading in present time that Neil was like, you really want me to do that song with the pain. So Neil Diamond, records like this, and a couple of things like my love or feel for jazz was at a very early age with Ramsey Lewis and the In Crowd. This is the best Ramsey Lewis. It has a lot of their early Ramsey Lewis stuff. I have this album now, so I could say that hearing this when I was super young encouraged me to get into aspects of jazz, but then there was also Glenn Campbell. So,
oh yes, now we're talking.
Big one in my house because it was Wichita Lineman, all of that. My dad learned to play guitar later in life, and he was highly influenced by watching Glenn Campbell play, watching Chet Atkins, things like that. That he was very into. My mom, on the other side of it, was a Nat King Cole person, and since even that, this was I found this in like a thrift store for $2, and it's in immaculate condition. I'm like, this is the same album that my mom had in the '60s, and I still remembered it. So listening to a lot of the early classics, if you will, kind of influenced the direction towards where I started when I started record collecting. That was the sort of foundation for where it started to go, and then it took off. We'll talk more about that in future rounds.
Cool, mate. Really, really cool.
Cool.
Right, okay. So Boz is saying, I've been collecting for over 51 years. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's
Bought my first records when I was 7, so I'm 60 now, so 53 years. Got you beat.
cool, mate. Very, very cool. Very good. Right, okay. Let's head to Canada. Rob, what have you got?
All right. So I've talked. All of this starts with my dad. He was a massive music fan, had a big record collection. We had a record collection in my house comparable to what we all have nowadays. Like there was probably 800 records in the living room. So there was an abundance of music in my household, and it didn't really appeal to me for a lot of my childhood. It was on. It just wasn't. It was just background noise. I was born in '78, and I started to listen to music probably around about 1990. I guess I would have been about 12, and I'll talk about the first record in a second. And then about 1994, I was all in, and I started buying records. So for me, it's been 31 years, considering that I'm only 47. So not as long as you guys, but I'm of the CD generation, and when all my friends were buying CDs, I was buying vinyl. And I remember when I was in high school, I quite often skipped class. Don't tell anybody. I was a straight A student, so who gives a shit if I skip class? And I'd go to my friends would be going somewhere, and I'd go downtown to the record store, and I'd buy used vinyl. And I have some great records that no one wanted back then that are in amazing condition. I bought them for next to nothing. So I was at a right time when no one wanted records, and they were a dime a dozen. So it all starts for me with this record.
There you go.
I don't know if we've ever talked about this record before or not. When I was about, like I said, roughly about 12, why I started listening to Elvis, I haven't the foggiest idea. My dad had a couple Elvis records, which I have his copies of. They're sitting over on my stack. But for some reason, I remember I had this on cassette. And I listened to this a lot, like daily for a very, very long time. And I was a massive, massive Elvis fan when I was 12 years old in the late 1980s. It's just kind of strange, but I loved the early Elvis stuff. I thought the old Elvis was tacky and lame, and now in my old age, I think old Elvis is cool as hell. So yeah, it all starts with this. Mine is not a gatefold like Richard's, unfortunately, but yeah, it starts with this, and then I discovered someone else, which I'll talk about next round.
Tiny Tim. The Tiny Tim? Did I guess?
Maybe.
Fantastic, mate. Have you got a favorite Elvis song or album that you love? I know the comeback. You love the comeback. I know that.
I love the 68 comeback special. I love the Sun Session stuff. But if I had to pick a favorite song, it's Burnin' Love. Like that diamond-studded jumpsuit shit, that is fantastic. Love it. I thought it was stupid when I was 12. Now that I'm old and fat, I go, this is fantastic stuff. Love it.
I was actually in the car today, and I was listening to music, and Liz is like, "What the hell are you listening to by her now?" And I'm like, "This is Canadian music, woman. You need to tune in now, right?"
What were you listening to?
Blue Rodeo.
Perfect.
And I played the sorry, it's going to slip my mind now. The album I bought this week that arrived, Plane Crash guy, can't think of his name.
Oh, Stan Rogers.
Stan Rogers. She was like, he's not Canadian. This is like Irish folk. I was like, she was doing the river dance while listening to it.
That's a lot of what influences Eastern Canadian music. I think he's from Hamilton, Ontario. I think.
Yeah, cool. I'm loving it.
Yeah, cool.
It cost me a lot of money.
It's not my
But
fault.
I'm loving it.
I didn't make you buy it.
Oh, every time a package comes to the door, I'm like, oh, that's Rob's fault. That's Rob's fault.
I didn't even tell you to buy it. I didn't say, Chris, you should buy this. I just.
Yeah, I know.
If you guys ever come to Canada, Liz is going to give me shit, I think.
Maybe I should come on my own.
Maybe.
Yeah. Brilliant, mate. Good selection there. Okay. For our special guest, and the reason why I'm calling him a special guest, because it's his first time. After the first time, you're not a special guest anymore.
My first time. You guys are witnessing.
You're going to Florida.
Your first time's always special.
Where it's rainy. Yeah. And the first time is on a rainy, humid day in Florida. So there you go. I'll never forget. I have like similarities between you guys a little bit there. I was like reaching back going, okay, what's the first stuff I heard besides like Chuck E. Cheese crap over there, getting pizza and whatever. So my aunt was a huge Elvis fan. So I remember that. So I was kind of going back to my first kind of memories. I don't have any Elvis. For me, this is about all I need for Elvis right there. Good essential collection, greatest hits. There you go.
Oh, here we go, Jim.
So, because I don't know, he just never. Some of his stuff did work for me, and some didn't. But he didn't really. I go, oh, I got to have that kind of thing. I appreciated it, kind of thing. But I was trying to remember, like, what was the first stuff I listened to, and I think before that, I got into a little bit. Oh God, another greatest hits. Is all I need from these guys too. The Monkees. I had a couple of their first couple albums. The TV show was on, and I always liked the theme song, and I like Daydream Believer and all that. So I listened to them, but I didn't buy anything. I just remember getting into those guys, in the beginning. And I think the first, and then where'd they go? Oh, right here, and then the Beach Boys. So the Beach Boys, there was a compilation album where you get, you see it on the television, and they have commercials, and you can get a 2-album set of Beach Boys' greatest hits. And I still love all that early stuff, the Surfer Girl and all that Surfing USA, all those songs. So I guess my first real I like this band could have been the Beach Boys from what I remember. But I only go to a certain point with that. I'm not even really a big fan of Pet Sounds, believe it or not. But I still like that early stuff of Barbara Ann, because we're kids. We used to sing that walking to school, that ba 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 Barbara Ann kind of thing. I remember doing that. So that has to be my earliest memory, as far as what I got into when I was listening to. I remember even getting that, and I don't even think we had a record. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know how old I was, but I remember getting the album and I didn't have a record player. So I had to run to my friend's house and said, hey, you got to put this on for me. So, that was the thing. And then later on, I ended up like saving up my money, getting my own record player as the story progresses a little bit. So as far as the root of things, I think this was the first album I bought was a Beach Boys compilation album, and really enjoyed that. And then later discoveries happened that really just kicked off the whole thing. So there you go. My first round is the groundwork. There you go. Where it began, where the interest started going, what is this stuff music? What is this?
You two give me shit about greatest hits.
And I just showed you a shitload.
Yep, I took 2. So
cool, mate. Good selection there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I spent a lot of time with my grandparents growing up, because both my parents were always working. So, my grandmother picked me up. She was one of the dinner ladies when I first started going to school. So I kind of came home with her, that kind of stuff. And she used to have a stereogram in the living room. Remember the old sliding doors? You used to have FM, you can tune it in. And then you have the 45s you could put in and your records. and you lifted it up, and you could put the record on top, on the vinyl on it. And believe it or not, one of the first songs as a kid I heard, because she was one of 9 children, my grandmother.
Ooh.
No TV in those days. Um,
Yeah.
so, um, and my uncle used to play this pretty much all the time. And it's Fleetwood Mac. This is the reason why I picked this up. 'Cause when Rhino released this, I think about a month ago, 2 months ago, I was like, I need to get this for like memory's sake and the time and place I was when I was a small, kid walking in, and my uncle be playing this on the stereogram. So yeah, it's Fleetwood Mac. And my favorite song of all time by Fleetwood Mac is Monday Morning.
Yes, sir. I love that song.
That's a great song.
So, yeah, and as you're getting older, Monday morning makes more sense. You're like, oh shit, it's Monday
Yeah.
again. So, yeah, this was a Rhino release, limited edition to 5,000, and I've got 2,000, and I got 2225. So,
Oh, nice.
I've also ordered Buckingham and Nick's limited edition. I know Rob's got the original. And then growing up in my household with my mum and dad, my mum would always have this on. I've showed this a few times, but it's bread. Always on CD. This actually used to be on tape. Remember the old tape machines, like the ones used to with batteries in the back that had FM and AM. She'd always play this on tape. So she actually found the tape the other day. So she said, do you want it? I was like, I don't want to get into tapes. I really don't want to get into tapes. So this is bread. Obviously, I've got to show it. So, but like I said, I think I said in the live stream last week, I'm going to go back and actually buy the albums from Bread, sit down and listen to them. And then my dad, on the other hand, was the total end spectrum to my mum. And he loved this band, and he was on all the time. Queen. What can I say? Apart from the Beatles, maybe Oasis, the biggest British export of all time. Queen. So yeah, this is Queen's Greatest Hits Volume 1. But yeah, just love them. Love a bit of Queen. And if there's any youngsters watching, go and watch Live Aid, their performance.
Yeah. Big comeback, yeah.
And there's another one I saw in the record shop, or I saw online the other week. Was it Live in Montreal?
Yep.
The one they did? That was brilliant.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. I've been trying to get the live album from them when they were in... where were they? In Wembley. It was after Live 8, and they'd done the live album. He had God Save the Queen on air, and brilliant, absolutely fantastic. So yeah,
So it's a shame the first Fleetwood Mac doesn't get as much love as Rumors, because I don't know.
True.
It's real damn close to being just as good as Rumors.
I actually prefer it over Rumors.
I do as well, actually.
I could see that.
It means more to me.
Well, yeah.
That was the first kind of music. I was like, as a kid, you're not really taking it in, and as you get older, you think, oh, my uncle used to play that. People who are not with us anymore, and you think, and it brings back all these emotions. Let me go back into the comments real quick. I don't know what he's commenting on here, but
Talking about Burning Love.
Yeah.
And then we've got Spencer's music. How are you, Chris? Yep, all good,
There's
mate.
one of them tape players right there.
Right. Okay. We will move on now. We will go back to the Tap House. Richard.
Howdy. Okay, so round 2, I'm still setting the foundation for kind of like early record buying. So it's early 70s. We were living in Germany because my father was in the Air Force and we were stationed in Ramstein. So our music palette, if you will, was kind of limited to most of the crap that was on the radio and snippets of things that my sister was playing. So that's kind of where I'm going with this round. It was just like music that my sister kind of got me into that was not my parents' music, but it was her music that sort of in time became my music, especially because I stole this album from her. Uh, Paper Lace. This is and other bits of material. This is the one with Billy Don't Be a Hero. Remember that old song?
Mhm.
And the night Chicago died.
Were
If I
they
recall correctly, this is her copy, and I kind of borrowed it. So sorry, sister dear. This is where it is. You haven't been looking for it because I know you sold all your records. So that. Anyway, now this wasn't a favorite, but just this was like album cover 101, where it was like, wow, that's a really cool album cover. I probably, if I had the money at the time, I probably would have bought this just for the album cover because it's just cool looking. But Paper Lace. But she also introduced me to everything Beatles and the Wings. So Venus and Mars was one of the first albums I remember her playing. And this is the, reissue, updated on T-billion times, but I remember hers had posters and all that good bonus stuff. So that was my introduction to, Beatles post-Beatles, because Beatles were defunct by the time I was really getting into music. So Venus and Mars, I still love this album. And when I had a couple of used copies of this, and then the reissue came out, I snapped this up really fast because I knew every song on here like the back of my hand. Listen to What the Man Said. It's probably one of my favorite Wings songs. My sister also got me into Queen.
Yes.
I borrowed this album and played it on my record player because it's like, how we're 4 years apart. So she was 11 or something. I was 7. We're fighting over records and shit. It was funny. Loved this one. I liked it for Bohemian Rhapsody, but I also liked, the quirkiness of that stuff like Good Company and what's some of the other quirky stuff on here? Prophet Song. I think I like Prophet Song better than I like Bohemian Rhapsody. So Night at the Opera was my introduction to Queen, thanks to my sister, and my sister also got me into 2 more bands. Hang on. The Beatles, of course. I loved Rubber Soul from the word get-go. This is still one of my favorite Beatles albums for all kinds of obvious reasons. How many copies of that do I have now? Thanks, Beatles Monobox. Now, my sister also got me into the Osmonds, so it's her fault. So I have this, I have The Plan, I don't have Crazy Horses. This is actually one I wouldn't mind finding if I could find one that looked like someone played hockey with it or something. But I like the Osmonds, I like the songs, I like the Elvis-like outfits because I was into 70s Elvis at the time too. So these were some of the things my sister influenced me on musically. And then we'll get into what some of my first records were. Next round.
Cool, mate. Very, very cool. My mum loved Donny Osmond.
Oh, my sister was like gaga for Donny Osmond, David Cassidy, who else? Probably Bobby Sherman, all those.
I don't know if I shared. Hang on, sorry, I'm still making you big. Hang on. Right. So I tell you a little backstory of Donny Osmond's family. So his great grandfather was from Wales.
Really? I did not know
Yes. And a few years ago, he done, these programs on TV where you can find your family tree and you can go back and have you seen those programs on TV where they discuss with celebrities? And they had him on and they found out that his grandfather was a wood maker in North Wales. And they actually migrated over the seas, obviously before Donny was even thought of and that kind of stuff. And he went back to North Wales and sang in the choir that his granddad was in.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So he done a full circle. I couldn't believe how dark his hair was, but anyway. So just to give you a little backstory there. Okay, so we've got some comments here. The east side of Chicago. and I'm into a little bit of country. Yes, I am too as well. Yeah, yes. So yeah, my mum wanted me to go to watch Donny Osmond back in 2018. I was like, I am not standing there and listening to Donny Osmond with him. I love you, but I think
No.
she ended up going with the wine club girls. And let's put it this way, they remember getting there, right?
Oh,
And
dear.
she said she remember the bus driver waking her up outside the house, going, "You need to leave the bus now." So yeah,
Wow.
but cool. Yeah, we had a lot of Donny Osmond and the Osmonds playing in our house as well. The reason I didn't show it because I haven't got any, so I'll ask my mum see if she's got any spare ones. It'd be good. Okay, Rob, where you go, mate?
Okay, so 12-year-old me, 13-year-old me listening to Elvis, and that was kind of about it. And then in 1992, I was watching TV with my dad, and we were watching Much Music, which is the Canadian equivalent of MTV, a little show called Unplugged.
Oh,
And I saw this. And I kind of went, wow, this is different. I mean, obviously, I knew who Eric Clapton was, but didn't know his music. And I was just blown away by this Unplugged special. I thought it was phenomenal. And so I said to Dad, next time we go to the mall, I want to go to the music store. And this was the first album I ever bought. Obviously, it was on CD. It was the first album I bought with my own money. I'd been gifted like a couple Elvis cassettes and like a Beach Boys cassette or something like that. This was the first album I ever bought. It was on CD, and I played it a lot. I listened to it a lot. Love it. I still love it today. I'm glad that it's out on vinyl. I did not buy the expanded edition because it wasn't worth it for the little tiny extra bit they give you. But what a hell of a great performance. We got to show the inside of the gatefold. There you go. So, so I was, I guess, 14 when that came out. And I didn't understand Clapton's place in music at the time. I didn't know the significance of a song like Layla, but I just loved it, and I bought it. I'm going to show two more of this, Ron. Then 1994 was musically for me like when the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs hit the Earth. It was like that. It was that significant because I discovered the Beatles in 1994, and how it started is, and I remember the day like the photograph is sitting in front of my face. It was one night after dinner, and Mom was washing the dishes, and I was drying the dishes, and Dad was in the next room, which was the living room where the record player was, and he put on a record, and I wasn't paying much attention to it. It was this record, and it was kind of on and whatever, and we're all talking, and he's playing it fairly loud, and for some reason, when Carry That Weight came on, I literally stopped and I went, Dad, what is this? It's the Beatles. I go, Beatles, like She Loves You? Because like I knew like two Beatles songs. And it was like I got hit by lightning. And I sat down, we started the album again, I listened to the whole thing, and I was, from that instant, I was just hooked. And why Carry That Weight? I have no idea. The funny thing is, when I say that it's this record, this is actually his exact copy. This is the copy that he put on.
Oh wow!
And this is my dad's original from 1969,
Wow.
and this is how good a shape it is. There isn't even ring wear on it, so his name's written on the label. So that was kind of the start of the Beatles, and ironically, that was just like a month before the Beatles anthology aired on ABC. So I'm like, oh, gotta watch the Beatles anthology. So I sat down with Dad and Mom, and we watched the Beatles anthology over those 3 nights on ABC. I remember the excitement of, the countdown at the end of the first episode. 1 minute till a new Beatles song. Heard Free as a Bird for the first time. And all of that was amazing. And I just dove headfirst into the Beatles that year. Bought Anthology 1 when it came out around the time that the show aired. I was getting into that. I was going through my dad's Beatles records. And the other sort of lightning moment, I was at a friend's house. It was my best friend's girlfriend. He wasn't there. Her and I were friends, and there was nothing.
Oh, yeah.
No. He knows this story too. It's all good. Her and I were friends, and I was at her house, and she put on Sergeant Pepper. I hadn't heard Sergeant Pepper yet, and it was one of those, holy shit, what am I listening to? And I was just right from the very beginning of this song, the sort of the crowd noise, fake crowd noise, and then the Sergeant Pepper, and then how it sort of transitioned to the Billy Shears, I was just like, what is this? I don't know what the hell concept album was, and this was a lot different than the Beatles I had heard up to this point, and I was absolutely hooked. And now, 35 years later, they're still my favorite band. I probably have 200 Beatles records. That was 1994 when the Beatles just, in my world, exploded, and that changed everything.
I think that's an amazing story that you've got the original that you heard with your mum, where your dad was playing.
Yeah.
Then the full circle, and you've still got it. That's amazing.
Still got it.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah. That's. Yeah. Try and beat that story, guys.
My dad was cool enough that when I moved out in university, I still went to university in my hometown, but after 2 years of being in university, Dad and I couldn't live in the same house because
Yeah.
I had to work in late hours, and it just wasn't cool with it. Upset his routine, and we fought a lot. So I went and got my own place, and he was cool enough that when I left, he gave me his Beatles records.
That's cool.
And they're all original first presses from the 60s and whatever, and I still have every one of them to this day. And they're all in as good a shape as that one is. So I'm thankful for that.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that, mate. That's a really cool story. Really cool story. Right. Let me just go through the comments one more time. Ready for this? Terry, when the Osmonds rocked, they were great, but the ballads and the country stuff was painful. Richard, you're
100% agree.
right. Yeah.
They were cringy.
If I'm being honest, I've only heard a certain amount of the Osmonds. I'm not into them massively, but yeah. Right. Mr. Florida, what's going on?
Mr. Florida. No. I'm not Mr. Florida, I'll tell you that right now. That's a whole nother lifestyle. Lordy.
When I said to Liz we were having you on, her first response was, "Oh, that's the hurricane guy, isn't it?"
Oh yeah, I did do. Yeah, I've done some hurricane videos. Yeah,
she's like, "Oh, those boxes when he was unboxing them was amazing." She said, "I couldn't take my eyes off him. What he was going to pull next."
Oh, when I was doing the live
storage, remember?
Yeah,
yeah.
That was in this room. Yeah, oh Lord, that was painful. I was rethinking everything at that time. That was. Oh, I'm getting flashbacks. Hold on. I need a drink. All right. Man.
Yeah.
So.
How long ago was that now, John?
Huh?
How long ago was that? Was that about a year ago now?
Yeah. That was like, what was it? Like November? Before Thanksgiving, I think. God, it's a blur now. It was somewhere between like October and December. Because we had them like back-to-back hurricanes.
Yeah.
It's just insane. So. A little stressful. Yeah, but it was about a year ago. And in the previous year, we had one, but it was a little bit different. Last year was the worst I've ever seen living down here. So there's people still recuperating, in the next neighborhood over because they're lower level. So they all got flooded out. They had at least 2-3 feet of water in their houses. So crazy. And they're all trying to sell them now. Nobody wants them because everybody knows. So they're having a hard time. So they're reducing their prices. So it's crazy. But everybody's getting back to normal.
I was watching on Netflix, actually, me and Liz last night, Hurricane Katrina. That was on Netflix. Have you seen it yet? That is.
Yeah, my wife was just watching that. Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to watch that. I have to live that. I don't want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry, mate.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So I was kind of, yeah, I'm thinking like the order everything fell in place. So like now I've got the little bit of the music bug. My parents never really, from what I remember, really played music in the house. There was music around, so I kind of it was there to discover. So I kind of had the bug. I got the Beach Boys album, no record player, and then I started kind of going through my parents' stuff, and I started discovering some things. Some of the albums I remember is like Kenny Rogers. My mom was a Kenny Rogers fan, so she had his greatest hits. The Gambler was big at the time, so those were around, but no record player yet. And then I remember Tony Orlando and Dawn, the album everybody sees, with the white suit and they're next to him and they were catchy as hell songs. I even when I got back into collecting vinyl, that's one of the first ones I picked up for like $1 and realized, yeah, this isn't probably going to stay very long, but it was nostalgic for a while. You know, it's kind of cool to hear those songs. They were catchy. So there were other things in there, and at the time, somewhere in there we got a record player. I don't remember when. And my dad, you know, at this point, Neil Diamond was king, so this was playing like crazy. I still like this album. It's got a little couple cheese factors, but I still like this album. It's good. You know, Neil Diamond's schmoozing is not so bad, but I can put this thing on and listen to it all the way. So that piqued my interest. And then, you know, I played a lot of radio as a kid. And I would listen to stuff. So I caught some of his older things. Like it got me interested in the Shiloh album, which is this one. It's hard to find without people connecting the.
Oh yeah.
So I actually have a clean copy of it. But this has like the woman on it. Girl, you'll be a woman soon. Can't remember if this was this a comp or was it? I don't think so. Right. Solitary Man. I'm a Believer. It's got a lot of hits. Red Wine. I'll Come Running. I mean, that's a great album, Shiloh.
It probably isn't the greatest hits because I haven't got it.
Okay, well then that answers that question. But I remember hearing for the first time on the radio, and I you know, when you start associating the voices and things like that, I heard Brother Love's Travel and Salvation Show.
Oh, love that song.
And that's my all-time favorite Neil Diamond song. I just everything about it, just the lyrics and the feel, and you know. He had like a gospel feel to him. I love that early Neil Diamond stuff.
That is a compilation, by the way, John.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense because there's a lot of hits on there. Because I did those videos on his early stuff, and there's a lot of where they redid albums and all kinds of stuff with Neil when they realized he was becoming popular. So he had a nice, good run for his first albums, and it kind of got a little cheesy there for a while. But there's nice periods of Neil Diamond that I like to pick and keep in my collection. But one of the albums that were in there that really got my interest was this Elton John Tumbleweed Connection. And this is one of those moments where I'm enjoying the album. Oh, it's a gatefold, right? I'm supposed to show the whole deal. There you go. There's Elton. There's Bernie. What's the track listing on this? Of course, it's not on there. But the first time I heard Where To Now, St. Peter. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that song. No, I guess not, because nobody's saying anything.
No, sorry, mate, no.
Because it has Ballad of Well-Known Gun, Son of Your Father, My Father's Gun, Come Down in Time is on here. So there's no like real big hits except for maybe Come Down in Time and Burn Down the Mission. But when you put on Where To Now, St. Peter, it had this sonic sound. It had this wah pedal going. I had never heard anything like that before. And I if you can wear out vinyl, and I came pretty close to wearing out the vinyl listening to that song because it just hit me. It's like one of those songs you're like, holy crap. There's more to just these pop songs that sound good and whatever. Now we're getting into this sonic thing. Now we're getting into, wow, where else can this music go? Because you're discovering it. And it was never introduced to me. So that song I just played like crazy. I would just pick it up, boom, play it again, pick it up, play it again. So this is the first album that really like, oh, okay. And it's funny, I never really pursued further. It probably just because I was an ADHD child, so I just move on to something else really quick. So, but this album always stuck with me. And Elton, you know, I would eventually get into him a little bit further. Not all of his stuff. There's a a lot of periods of time where I'm like, no, I could do without Elton. But when he was on it, and that's one of this album. If you haven't listened to this all the way through, this one and Madman are like sister albums to me. Those two could have been a double album and just killer. So that was kind of getting the door going. And then I'm getting a little bit older here, and I met a friend. He's 3 years older than me down the block. He starts becoming an influence. And then the next part will be where I get into it's not going to be a big surprise, my biggest influence and how all that started.
Cool, mate. Very cool. Right, okay. So I'm going to show the last part of my parents until I went into music, where I discovered where I wanted to go with my music. Believe it or not, I can't believe he picked it, but it is Elton John. So
Population.
in the 90s, he did a song with George Michael that's called Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me.
Yep.
Amazing. It was pretty much everywhere on MTV at the time. And there's a little backstory here. So I used to play football, which Americans call soccer for some reason, where footballers use football because they kick the ball with their foot. But anyway, and it's the biggest sport in the world. But anyway, we won't go into that. The one song, my dad would take me on a Sunday morning to football, and at the time, this song was massive. And it's my favorite Elton John song of all time, and it's Sacrifice.
Oh yeah.
I just absolutely love Sacrifice.
Yep.
Sorry about the thing there. But yeah, every time I hear it, it always takes me back to that time where Dad was taking me down and screaming by the side of the pitch, going, "You're useless! Move the ball! Pass the ball! Stop kicking your own goal!" But yeah, so that's Elton John, and this is a fantastic comp. Like, you can't. I'll just quickly go through. You got your song, Tiny Dancer, Rocket Man. I didn't discover Rocket Man till I was into, my 20s.
Mm.
Because I think there was like a remix in the UK of like a dance song of Rocket Man. And I think your song as well was covered by Ellie Goulding. She's done like a smoother version of that. She's got a really good voice in the 2000s. So yeah, Elton John. And then obviously the next chapter is me going on my own kind of venture of path of my music. And let's put it this way, it's completely different.
Wasn't Rocket Man your football nickname?
Well, only in the changing room.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Next.
Whoa.
Next.
Richard, where you got me?
Take us away from there fast, Richard, please.
I will. Moving right along. Okay. 70s. So the first albums I was buying were Elvis. I was an Elvis nut in the 70s. And this was the fat Elvis era. So as new albums were coming up, I was picking them up. I was hooked. My allowance money went to Elvis records, a couple of Osmonds records and whatnot. So the 70s were this for me. So it was especially Sun Sessions, discovering really young Elvis. That's All Right, Mama, all that stuff. Great. Listening to 50s into the early 60s Elvis with all of the greatest hits thereof, all the way through the 70s until its last album came out, Moody Blue. Yes, it's on blue vinyl, which apparently is worthless. But anyway, then Elvis died. And
We think.
something in me shifted. And I was kind of like, well, there's not going to be Elvis albums. Well, there's 50 million compilations we found since then. Where should I go next musically? For some reason, don't know why, wasn't really on my radar, I went to Kiss.
That's a big jump.
It was a big jump. It was a leap. I loved the imagery. I loved the outfits, the makeup. The music was a hell of a lot of fun. and Love Gun. This is my very first album, that post Elvis era album I picked up, and it still has all of the little tchotchkes in it too. Is the Love Gun in here? Yes, it is. There it is.
Oh wow.
But I still have that. It still has like all the little order forms and all that crap. So 77, I think this came out. So yeah, I went into Kiss mode and bought everything Kiss. But there were other albums that kind of like got me going through the 70s, and then there's another pivotal moment. So from radio, I discovered The Glories of Cheap Trick and I Want You to Want Me and all those good things. I discovered groups like Styx. I was a huge Styx fan until Roboto, and I kind of went, yeah, that's great. Fooling Yourself, I had on a 7-inch at one point, and same with Come Sail Away. Love this album. It's not my favorite Styx, but it's pretty damn close. I still kept up with the disco era and the pre-punk era, if you will, with Blondie. So I have the Heart of Glass 12-inch somewhere, and I still have it. So great album, Parallel Lines, and I have several Blondie albums up till The Hunter. And I also discovered Van Halen. Van Halen 2 with my first Van Halen, and then I kind of went backwards, got Van Halen 1, and then went all the way through. And when Sammy joined Van Halen, my life changed a lot. I was very happy about that. So right at the end of 1979, give or take, I heard this guy.
Oh yeah.
Who's that, Rich?
I'm shocked.
No, you knew this was coming. Come on.
No.
I want to say it might have been 1980 itself, but I saw Gary Newman do Cars on Saturday Night Live, and you know how Rob said had that lightning bolt moment? This was mine. And then backtracking and getting the previous two albums before this, I now have every Gary Newman album you can have, and then some. And some you probably wouldn't want. But that took me all the way through the 70s. Next stop will be the 80s, and things change a lot there.
Cool, mate. Balls was saying Styx is my number one favorite band, and Kiss is number 2. And then he's saying, my wife calls them Van Haga.
Van
She's
Hagar.
not a fan of Van Haga joining Van Halen.
Too bad.
So,
I like both. There's merits to Dave era. There's merits to Hagar era. I can't say I like them in equal measure, but I like them. I have preferences for both for different reasons. There.
I think in the UK they did dent it slightly, but not as much. I think across the pond. I don't know what it was. It just you knew Jump, and that was it. So I was like, yeah. Maybe I need to do a deep dive.
It's not a bad place to go. I mean, here they were kind of like the quintessential party band in the 70s going into the 80s. And yeah, you want a good time, you listen to Van Halen. You watch Eddie shred and do his tapping and all that good stuff. And yeah, it was party music.
The closest I have got to when I watched the Taylor Hawkins concert in Wembley when Wolfgang came on with Dave Grohl. And I was like, oh. And Liz was like, you know who that is, didn't you? I was like, I haven't got a clue what's going on here. Because there's so many artists coming on. And she was like, that's Van Halen, son.
What?
Like,
really? What? His band is coming here in a few months. I might go to that. I think it would be interesting. He has an Eddie Van Halen influenced style, but it's very different because he kind of started out. I think he started out as a bassist, and then kind of moved into I'm going to do my own band. And I think he's doing really well.
Well, look who taught him play the guitar, mate. It's like you're going to get any better than that. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Right, let's have a look here. I like both as well. Van Halen 3 is not all that great.
Yeah, I have Van Halen 3 on CD. I think I played it twice in my lifetime. It's terrible.
It's horrible. Yep.
And he's saying, I heard Mike Post produced Van Halen 3. I mean, the guy that did.
The WKRP
Yeah.
theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one with Gary Sharon on it, right? And it just,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't good. Yeah, it was just there's a lot of Eddie, and then they kind of fit him in, and he just didn't work in that. So that's the thing.
Rob, come on, mate.
Okay, so we're talking mid 90s. I am 16, 17, something like that. And I'm buying records. All of my friends at this time, because we're talking mid 90s, they're listening to Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and all that stuff. It's fine. Didn't
All the shit stuff.
Didn't do anything for me. And so now I had this on CD. I don't have it on vinyl, but I'm going to show a close approximation of it. I bought the best of the band. I don't have the best of the band on vinyl, but I do have their anthology. I have everything studio-wise that the band ever put out. I don't know what it was about these guys. I mean, my dad listened to them, so this is definitely a my dad influence. Didn't know they were Canadian. Except for Levon. Didn't know they were Dylan's backing band. Didn't know any of that. I heard Up on Cripple Creek and I went, holy smoke, what is this? Unlike anything I'd heard. And so I loved that song. And my dad goes, you got to listen to this. So he played me the band's Brown album, which is my favorite. But on CD, I went out and bought the best of the band because, yes, I was buying records, but I was also going to school. And it's like, well, I can't go to school with my record player. So I had my Discman. So, I still had CDs because I wanted to be able to listen to music walking to school. I wanted to be able to listen to music on the bus going to my girlfriend's place, whatever the hell I was doing. So I listened to the shit out of the greatest hits of the band. And then Dad had most of their studio albums. I now have all of their albums, all the live albums, everything. So my love affair with the band, who, if you were to say, Rob, what's your favorite musical artist? It goes the Beatles, the band, and there's another one that starts with a B, which we might see in a few minutes. But I'm listening to the band in 1994 when people are listening to Nirvana. So kind of a weird thing. I remember one time I was in English creative writing class and happened to have my Discman sitting there and it was open. And the disc was there. And my music teacher goes, he's walking, or my English teacher walks by, he goes, is that what I think it is? I go, what? He goes, you're listening to the band? I go, yeah. He goes, that's awesome. I didn't know anyone your age even knew who the band was. So
That's cool.
that was kind of cool. At that exact same time, I also got into a little band called Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Oh, yes. Now we're cooking.
Dad listened to these guys all the time too, because I actually, when music caught fire for me with the Beatles, I suddenly started paying attention to what was being played in my house. Dad played a lot of jazz and blues, which I didn't connect with, but played a lot of classic rock, which I did. So, again, I remember a lot of Creedence. And I remember there was a place in the next town over called the CD Warehouse. It was a massive CD store. I remember the first trip that Dad and I went over there. This was one of the CDs that I bought. Because, again, I had the vinyl at home, but I want to listen to my music on the go, being a teenager that's never home. So I bought this, Creedence, the Clearwater Revival, the concert, which is a show they did in Oakland. I played this all the time. And I think this is why I got to love live albums, too, because there's something extra, I find, if it's a good live band. And the last one I'm going to show in this high school period, pre the next seismic eruption that's going to happen in the next round, is I started listening to the Hollies. Little different. And it was because of a girl. There was a young woman in our circle of friends. We had a group of about 20 of us that, hung out all the time. And there was a certain young lady there who I thought was probably the most incredible female specimen ever to walk the earth. And man, did I pine over her. And I connected with the song Bus Stop because that's essentially about someone who is longing for a relationship with a young woman. For them, it happened. For me, it did not. She would not give me the time of day. It was literally, ooh, fuck off. That's okay.
Those things happen.
These things happen, right?
Yeah.
My grandfather used to say, "Women are like subways. The next one will be along in 2 minutes." So
Damn.
he was a wise man. What can I say?
Oh my goodness.
So I listened to a lot of the Hollies back then, and this album. I mean, all I need for them is the greatest hits. But there's some incredible stuff on your Bus Stop, Carrie Ann. When I heard "Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress," I'm like, that is a friggin' great song. A great guitar riff that opens it up. Everything on here is phenomenal. So, I'm doing Creed. In addition to the Beatles, it's Creedence, it's the band, it's the Hollies, it's all that kind of stuff, which is certainly not what my peers were listening to.
That's really cool, though. I like that.
Yeah.
Would you believe I couldn't, if I had my feet to the fire, I could not name one Hollies song. I couldn't do it.
He's
I
not
told you,
heavy.
Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress. There you go. This is, I mean, it is British pop, but it's also Graham Nash.
Yeah.
Right? So, his pre-CSNY days. But this, even if you're not a Hollies fan, this is good to listen to because it is that sort of mid-'60s British invasion kind of stuff. But there are some really, really, really good songs on there.
It just surprises me, I mean, given the scope of what I like to listen to, that I've never heard that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It's fun.
I should listen to it.
Okay, cool. Oh, Johnny.
I'm back. Here's Johnny.
Here.
Let me go get my axe. I'll be right back. All right. So I guess I'm about ready. I'm about to middle school time, somewhere in there. Definitely, yeah. We're at the mall. I go to the mall with a friend. This guy is 3 years older than me. We go to the mall. Mom drops us off. Of course, we have to. It's back in the days when there's actually like 2 record stores and at least 2 bookstores in the mall. Cool stuff.
Not anymore.
And a pet store.
Yeah.
Pet stores. Yeah. Now nobody reads. Nope. It's a shame. But so we're doing our thing. We go to what was it? I forgot the chains now. I'm getting a total blank on the stores. But so we go in the record store, and of course they had discount bins. And it's a crime that this album was in a discount bin. But he goes, hey, he knew I was starting to get into music and stuff. He's like, check out this guy. So it was this little album right here on one of these little doodads called a cassette.
Has it got an inner sleeve, John?
Huh?
Has it got an inner sleeve?
No inner sleeve. It does make cool noise when you shake it. Oh, something fell out. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the pads just fell out. Oh, boy. I have to fix that later. Anyway, this is Rob's favorite form of media.
Yeah.
Right here. Because it looks so cool. So I got this. We put it in the car on the way home, and I'm like, traveling prayer. That's okay. What the hell did you give me here, dude? What's going on here? It's like bluegrass and country, and then of course the second song is Piano Man. And I'm like, ooh, what's this magic? So it definitely got my attention. As a young kid, a song like Captain Jack's going to get your attention, with as like rough as it is, and like the content in the song. But just the instrumentation of like the ballad of Billy the Kid, and what was the other? I've learned more about this album as we've gone along, but what was the other one? Ain't No Crime. But I mean, it's a good album. So it's one I got, and I'm like, ooh, I like it. Started playing it, and this is about the time where I got my first. I just picked up one of these bad boys. This is actually from the 80s. I got one of these bad boys.
Ooh, nice.
So this once I had this, I don't know how many of these bad boys I went through because I would play the crap out of them.
John, do me a favor. Can you put your hat to one side?
Huh?
Can you put your baseball- There
There
it
you
is.
go.
Yeah, no, I wasn't one of those guys. No, it was on the end of my bike, and I broke so many handles on these things, and I would have to tape it back together. But I would. It's about the same time we had horses, and I had a cassette, so I'd pop one cassette in that. I'd ride my bike down, go horseback riding. We'd sit around a picnic table and listen to whatever I had on there. And there was a guy that worked for a vending company that had horses there too. And I guess I'm kind of skipping on that. Anyway, there was an album that I played over there, and as long as I played some Billy Joel for him, he'd give us free snacks and Twinkies and all kinds of crap. So that was kind of cool. So I was getting into Billy Joel, and then so my music discovery is happening. My friends tell me about stuff, and again, the ADHD, I'm all over the place. I don't know. So I'm going through my parents' music. Like I said, I discovered the Elton John album and the albums, and then I go in their room, and there's a spindle, and it just, it's one of those spindles. It doesn't have it doesn't hold the actual cover. It just holds the cassettes.
Yes, I remember.
So, yeah, you remember that? They turn.
Yeah.
That's some 1970s magic right there. So I'm going through and pulling stuff out. I believe I found there was a Neil Diamond in there, and that's when I discovered Neil wasn't so cool, because it was the album with Barbara Streisand and You Don't Bring Me Flowers. And I'm like, what happened? Just like the Elton John song was like, oh, wow, is this Sonic happening? I'm like, what happened? What happened to Neil? What is this crap? So I was like, can't do that. So I'm going through that. There's a couple good discoveries in there. But then I pulled this bad boy out, The Stranger.
Hang on. There you go.
Yeah, right there. That's side two. But freaking side one, Moving Out, Anthony's song, just the way that comes right in and punches you in the face and the album doesn't let up. That's where I was like, oh, okay. And then I kind of associated, oh, that's that other guy that has this album. So I'm putting two and two together going, all right. I like this guy. So I started, that's the first person I started a kind of a journey, because the other albums were good. But it's two albums where I'm like, I like every freaking song on this album. I don't have to trudge through it. I'm enjoying this. I'm like, so that's where the discovery, he's the first artist where I'm like, I need to start discovering, what's going on. And this is probably, so this is right around the time of Innocent Man. So 83, probably 82 in that era. So, of course, he's getting more radio play now. So I'm hearing him on the radio. I'm putting two and two together. Oh, he does that song. Oh, he does that song. Okay. There's not one song I'm hearing that I don't like. So that's where the deep dive began. And everything began with cassette for me. And the first three essentials for me that I bought after that were, of course, Innocent Man. And that was the one that got me a lot of snacks and Fritos and all that cool stuff, because that guy loved this album. He just loved that retro sound that he put on here. And then, of course, I backtracked to Nylon Curtain. I knew Allentown, I knew Pressure. Those are big hits. But I backtracked it, and and then, of course, when this bad boy came out, I'm like, that's it. I'm a Billy Joel fan, because this was, and it was funny when I first got this cassette, not this one. I went to the mall. It was just closing. I ran there, saved up my money for mowing lawns, got that bad boy, got it home. I didn't have my radio with me for some reason. Oh, no, I did. I was listening to it on the way home. As I pulled up to my house, all of a sudden you hear, bleh, 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 bleh. I'm like, oh. Hit the eject button. The tape is just flying out of there.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Devastated. And the mall was closed. So... didn't get to finish it.
It was either going to be batteries had gone in the ghetto blaster, or the tape is absolutely screwed. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I was so disappointed. That's the first time it ever happened to me. So
Did
I
you
went
wind it back with a pencil?
No,
Yes.
it was done. It was just so bad. Yeah, it was a mangled mess. So they were cool, because I still had my receipt, and I went back and they actually exchanged it out for me. They're like, those things happen to those things. I'm like, yeah.
It was your boombox saying, "Please don't make me do this."
Yeah. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's blasphemy.
Boombox rebel.
Yeah. So that's kind of, that was the first artist. I'm like, and then I just started. Before I knew it, I had everything up to that point. And I remember having all those, and then because when I first started collecting them, all those had already been released. But then the excitement was building. I got to do that with The Bridge when it came out, and Stormfront, and all those. So it's that excitement of getting that artist that you love. So that was the first artist that I did that with, and to this day, he's really the only artist that every single song, every single album, put it on, I'm good. you know. So that's where that began, you know. So
I watched. I'd done a video recently of my recent pickups, and I picked up Billy Joel, Piano Man.
yeah,
I watched Billy Joel last year in the Principality Stadium in front of 90,000 people, and it was amazing. And he brought his kids on stage, and they were standing on top of the piano while he was
yep,
playing the piano to them. It was pretty good. What did
yep.
you think? Now, I absolutely love the documentary. What did you think of it, John? Is
Yeah,
it as precise as it was made to be, or
yeah, it's hard as like it's hard for like you know somebody who's watching something that's so into the artist and knows so much because there's more I wanted out of it,
yeah,
and I had to put that aside and just look at the documentary itself. And I thought they did a good job because there was still stuff I didn't know, stories behind that. I thought it was cool that they brought the ex-wife in and Christy
yeah,
Brinkley, and you got some insight on what really happened there. The ending was a little schmaltzy for me. It was a
yeah?
little every one of my kids has a musical talent and all that. I'm like, dude, okay, let's
I just felt it was an amazing, one of the best documentaries I've seen on a music person.
yeah,
You
it was
know,
well done.
but
Yeah,
I just think they could have added another episode
yeah,
onto that. I was like, oh, that's it, is it? Right, okay.
yeah,
Because I was so into it,
yep,
and half the time I was thinking, why did you just get engaged for a bit and see how it goes? Because
yeah,
he's get married and everything
yeah,
goes to shit.
yeah. He's a helpless romantic.
Yeah,
You know, Paul McCartney falls into that same thing. After Linda, he had a couple, you know, marriages he rushed into, kind of
yeah,
thing. But yeah, it was good. But you're never going to get because you always want more. You know, I have books that I've read. He actually did an autobiography and he nixed it. I don't know what happened to it. I can't even find a bootleg of it, but he had it ready to go. I even had it ordered at the library and then he stopped it. So
Is there any news that he's going to bring out a new album? Because he brought out the new singles it last year before, and I was
yeah,
kind of like, are
I
we
don't
going to
think
get
so.
another album?
No, what? Huh? The you
Well, he
talking
brought
about?
out the new single, didn't he? Was it last year? Year before?
Is two? I want to say it's
2 years ago.
2 years ago. 2 years.
Yeah,
Ago. Yeah, turn the light back. Turn the light back on.
yeah.
Lights back on. Yeah, it was a good song. It wasn't entirely him. It was a song he had partially written, and somebody came in and finished it
Okay.
and got it going. I don't foresee any him doing it. He doesn't want to. He realizes what it takes to put an album out because he doesn't want it. You know, and this is the comparison between him and Elton. You know, Elton John tells Billy Joel, "You should put out more albums," and Billy Joel says, "You
So
should
he's going
put
to
out
stop,
less."
stop
Yeah,
making music. Yes.
Stop
Yeah.
making-
because yeah, so and that's why I think I like his career so much, even though it's like, I'm never going to hear any new stuff, but I'm not going to have to hear any garbage either, you know, of him just going, well, it's a paycheck. You know, he had the, you know, whatever you call it, to just stop making it and go, hey, I'm just going to go out and entertain. This is what I love to do. I like to perform live, and I'm not going to put out a crappy album.
I quite enjoyed them doing, when he was doing New York, kind of the residency and kind of
Yeah,
the backstory towards how it became that red it was amazing. And I
yeah,
thought, yeah, it's good they put that in. Like, because I've talked to Rob before about the Blue Rodeo documentary, which I thought was absolutely fantastic, which got me into Blue Rodeo in the first place, and then watching Billy Joel. I got Billy Joel on Greatest Hits, right?
mhm,
The
yeah,
volume 1 and 2.
yeah,
But actually watching the documentary kind of changes your mind about an artist sometimes. It's kind of like,
yeah,
whoa, right, I didn't realize that. And like the backstory when, his manager kind of screwed him over.
yeah,
And then talking to Rob about Blue Rodeo, like the hearing difficulties, and it's not really that. It's kind of, but yeah, cool, mate. I
yeah.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there's never, especially when you hear any artist that I'm not even into, and I hear a background story on a song, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go check that out. I always love the background story to any song by any artist. You know, it's gonna pique your interest and go, oh, that's what they're talking about. You know.
Cool, mate. I had a feeling I didn't pick Billy Joel on purpose because I
Yeah.
thought he's coming
There's,
on.
there's no way I could even, you know, I try not to include him in things, but in this thing, there's no way I can exclude him. There's no way.
So the Vinyl Voyage says, if you've heard of Radiohead's song "Creep," then you've heard the Hollies.
Yeah, there's some influence there for sure.
Interesting. Okay.
Boz saying, "Love the discount bins there, John."
Oh yes, yes,
Yes.
yeah. They had the nice cutouts, you know, on the side of the tapes and everything, or
And
the
the
whole
Vinyl
drilled
Voyage.
room.
The Vinyl Voyage says, did the documentary cover BJ's, Billy Joel's early psychedelic years. I think it did, didn't it?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
right at the beginning, though.
The hassles and
Yeah,
the hassles were more psychedelic, where Attila was him trying to be, even I laugh, him trying to be Led Zeppelin, you know.
I know the Final Voyage. I think he's from Scotland. I think it's on Now
Yeah.
TV here. So if you want to check it out,
Yeah, they go into the hassle. They do pretty good, and even into the Lost Souls, which they go into that stuff. It's pretty cool.
Modern. I am watching with one half. By the way, I'm trying to get sorted. Got to get up and travel in 7 hours just to say hi, guys. Hey, mate.
Hey,
You're
Morton, how you doing, man?
where can you watch it? So it's if you're in the UK, it's on Now TV Entertainment. It is on there because I watched it on the other week. So
Yeah, and in the States, it's on HBO Max.
it's HBO Max, or you can just get a Fire Stick. So it's up to you. But anyway, we'll move on. I don't have any of them.
Of course
just
not.
for purposes. Right. Okay. So back to me. Let's talk about the 90s, shall we?
I wonder where we're going with this one.
In the early 90s, there was some shit music about. It was all dance bollocks, and I wasn't into it, and I just wasn't enjoying it. And there was a band come along that pretty much changed my life. And it's Oasis. Now, they come out, obviously, 1994, that kind of era. Absolutely fantastic. I think, apart from the Beatles and maybe one or two other bands, one of the best rock bands of all time. You're not going to beat them. Just join them. They're absolutely fantastic. From start to finish, they know how to put a show on. And obviously, their breakthrough album was definitely maybe Rock and Roll Star. Even to this day, it's one of the best rock anthems in a gig you can ever play. And Rob's been through the stress, the torment. We covered this last week on the live stream.
Didn't you have Liam on your show last week?
Yeah, do you know what? Actually, I think we did make it.
Yeah,
Rob didn't make it last week, so we had
I think
Liam.
Liam was here.
Yeah,
filled in
just
for me
on the thing. But if there's nobody who hasn't heard of Oasis, but if this is still available on Amazon, this is a good kind of comp to start with. I've spoken to Rob back and forth a few times now, and I've ordered definitely maybe. I think what was it, the 30th anniversary, Rob?
30th anniversary, yeah.
Which is coming on orange vinyl, which I'm really looking forward to. Because I said to Messi, I'm not quite sure about this. You have to get it, otherwise we're never talking again.
No, that was What's the Story Morning Glory.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. But what an amazing band, 90s wise. And then in 1997, a band came along that I don't know how big it made it over the pond, but what a band. The Verve. They just came after Oasis. You had your Pulps, which I wasn't really into. You had your Blurs, which I wasn't really interested about, to be honest. I think they were trying to get off the cake to, trying to compete with Oasis. You're not going to do it. And then you had this band who were totally different. They were talking about the streets, talking about what it was like to live in. You got songs on you like Bittersweet Sympathy, which was the big, massive one. I think it made it big in the US at one point. But my favorite song on you is The Drugs Don't Work. And people think, oh, it's about the lead singer, Richard Ashcroft, taking drugs. It's not, actually. It's about Richard Ashcroft talking about his mum who's dying of cancer. And he's saying the drugs don't work. They just make things work. I know I'll see your face again. I have to show the inside because it's law. There's Richard right there. Yeah, Rob made this law, by the way, I think.
I know.
But The Verve. If nobody in America has ever heard of these, go and pick this up. Absolutely fantastic album.
I think
Verve, I would say the Verve were kind of a one-hit wonder here.
Yeah, Bittersweet Symphony, and that was about it.
Yeah, that's it.
Go back and watch and listen to The Drugs Don't Work. It's a bit slower, but yeah.
You'll find the Urban Hymns album from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
And then a band came along Well, actually, in 1996, there was a battle of the bands where I live. There was a band called the Tragic Love Company and Squeezebox, and the Tragic Love Company won the battle of the bands. And that band is the Stereophonics. We all knew this was coming.
Of course.
This album means everything to me because this is me leaving kind of secondary school, high school, and deciding what I want to do in my life, going into college. This came out in 1997. Um, Amazing album. If nobody's heard of them, I'm sure by the vinyl community because I've shown this so many times now. But if you want to listen to Stereophonics, get this one. This is the album to get, or Performance and Cocktail, which came out in 1999. I showed this one because this is the first album they ever made. So I'll just show the inside where the band are actually in a ex-servicemen's community pub in South Wales. And there they are practicing for this album. They were the first band to get signed by Virgin Records by Richard Branson. I can tell you a little backstory on this because I knew Stuart, the drummer. So they had a Ford Transit that was leaking oil everywhere. Something was going wrong. They pulled up to the gates of Richard Branson, and he answered the phone. He went, "You must be the band." And they stayed with Richard Branson for 2 weeks. He took him in on his in his Bentley and his Rolls Royce every day, so they would record the tracks. And this is the album they come up with. Word gets around.
Oh, cool.
So there you go. I've shown them. There they are. My favorite band of all time. I can't. This album and Performance of Cocktail meant so much to me because this was the first ever gig I went to. And I don't know if Richard's heard of the band Reef.
Yeah.
Placey Armstrong on me. They were the supporting act for the Stereophonics.
Oh, wow.
And this gig was in front of 120,000 people in Swansea, and they rocked the fucking house down. It was amazing. I loved it. But that was Stereophonics. That's word gets around.
Very nice.
So let's have a look at the comments real quick. You all knew who was coming, didn't you? Let's be honest. It's gonna happen. Let's have a look. Okay, so the vinyl voice, nice one. I like a bit of Billy Joel. John?
Nice. A lot of Billy Joel.
You cannot beat the Beatles' all-time favorite for me. Rob will probably second that. And we've got some people like the early Verve albums, more shoegaze. Richard will probably say yes on that one. Stereophonics. I know. I'm not surprised. So, yeah. There you go. That was my 90s introduction. It started with Oasis and kind of ended then with the Stereophonics. But we had so many good bands coming out of Britain at that time. It was insane. Absolutely bonkers. So, Richard, over to you, mate.
Hey, we're still in the 80s for me. So anyway, this is going to be a pile. It's going to be kind of a rapid fire. But anyway, the 80s for me were high school into college. Then I went into grad school, but that's a whole nother story. Actually, it would include grad schools. I graduated in 89. Anyhow, this decade was like the MTV introductory era combined with classic rock, combined with just expanding my music palette. And anyone who says, boy, you like a wide variety of music, the 80s kind of defined why. So the 80s were when I discovered Rush. Still love this album to death. Moving Pictures, this is the very first copy of a Rush album I bought. Played the living crap out of this thing. I loved it. So Rush, where it became a staple. Sammy Hagar had been a staple kind of in the late 70s, but into the 80s, I massively got into Sammy Hagar. I had everything Sammy Hagar's done. And this is why in the 80s, when Sammy Hagar joined Van Halen, I went eat shit. I was like, my God, this is like a super group for me now. So Hagar was huge for me. Also, the decade I discovered U2. Was I think War might have been my first album. It might have been the Red Rocks, Under the Blood Red Sky. But then I got into War, and then I backtracked. I had my eye on Boy since it first came out, but I didn't jump because it wasn't getting a lot of airplay back then. They didn't really get big until Sunday Bloody Sunday and New Year's Day and all of that came out with War. But remind me to say something about being a completist by the end of this. Because of MTV, I discovered things like Adam and the Ants, who my friends thought I was apeshit crazy. It's like, what is this? And I was like hooked on ant music. I thought this was the best thing I'd heard in years. It's something that's just completely out there. Dog Eat Dog is on here. This is amazing. I like Prince Charming album a little bit better. Also discovered Alex Beer and Vinyl. If you're watching, got you covered. Def Leppard. I was into the metal bands, not all of them, not the big hair bands, but there were certain types of metal that I was really into. And I'm not going to say this is as heavy as I got, but pretty close to it. I was not a Black Sabbath guy. I don't know why. It just never registered with me. Now I'm starting to look back into Black Sabbath a bit more. But Def Leppard was huge for me in the 80s, as were the Minneapolis people like Husker Du. So punk rock, heavy metal, prog, punk, new wave, all of it in the 80s. Husker Du, Flip Your Wig, fell in love with that. Fell head over heels for REM. First album. First time I heard Radio Free Europe, I was like, I have to get this. And I was an REM fan all the way up until about Accelerate. And I was buying all of this stuff. Also discovered the Cult. I'm one of Gav the X-Man Spins and I are probably two of the biggest Cult fans in the VC. If he and I compared discographies, we have a lot. I have a lot of stuff from the Cult. I've seen them a couple of times. But this album was my introduction with She Sells Sanctuary, wrapping up the 80s when I discovered the Smiths. And this rocked my world hard because I absolutely loved everything about Morrissey's vocal styles, Johnny Marr's guitars. This was like the complete package for the perfect sounding band at the time for me. I love the Smiths. So, to kind of summarize, the 80s for me was not just becoming interested in tons of different genres of music. It was also crazily starting to become a completist with a lot of those bands. So I was a Van Halen completist, the Smiths completist. So a lot of these, records I've shown, I have more than one, if not 10 different albums by some of them. So that was my 80s.
Cool, mate.
Cool.
A lot of music.
Yeah. Rob.
Okay. I'm still in the 90s. We got 4 albums here that are related. In the mid 90s, I met a girl.
Oof.
This one was important. This wasn't the one that said "fuck off." This one gave me the time of day, and we were together for 4 years, and was the first love of my life. Incredible person. We grew apart and I ended things and whatever, but very important time in my life. And we're going to start, and she weaves through all 4 of these records. What's the Story? Morning Glory by Oasis. So the Oasis thing was a little different in North America than it was for Chris over in the UK, because definitely, maybe to my recollection, didn't do much over here.
Right.
But when this album came out in 95, and I don't understand why, and neither does the band themselves, but for some reason, Wonderwall just took off like a goddamn rocket ship. And it's the one that everybody knows. And I remember Wonderwall playing all the time on Much Music. And I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. But then I heard "Don't Look Back in Anger," and I'm like, whoa, this is something. I bought this album, and I probably played this album probably 5 times a day for that entire summer. Like, it was the only thing I listened to that entire summer, and this was everything that I had listened to up to this point was influenced by what I'd heard at home, or was similar to stuff that I'd heard at home. This was the first band of my generation, not my parents' generation, that I discovered on my own, and just fell in love with this band. This album changed my life. This was on par with when I discovered the Beatles. It was one of those lightning moments. It changed my life. And so, because this album was just, when I think of that summer, I think of this and a lot of other important things that happened in my lifetime, and a lot of events that I shared with the first love of my life. This just, if there's any album that is sort of synonymous with some very important milestones in the soundtrack of my life, it's this album. So an album that just changed my life. Because I was listening to that, I also got exposed to this, Blur's Park Life. So here's the thing, the Blur Oasis Britpop rivalry thing, I didn't understand it then, and I still don't understand it now. Mm-hmm. Because this is pop and that's rock. I don't know what they're competing for. These guys, in my opinion, and my opinion doesn't mean shit, but in my opinion, these guys on their best day are 100 times less than Oasis are on their worst day. Not even any comparison. Yes. That said, I still like some of this. I like this album, which I think came out in the same year. I remember them being out around about the same time. There's 1994. So yeah, I would have been listening to this in 95 or whenever What's the Story came out. I really like this. I mean, Girls and Boys, Park Life, Bank Holiday, To the End, End of a Century. Great songs there. I like them, but they're pop songs, not rock songs, and I'm more of a rock guy, less of a pop guy. But this was still an important album, so it's tied into that incredible summer of stuff. So I mentioned that fine young lady that I was in love with. She was a huge fan of U2. And I had not heard any U2 to this point. And wow. So she made me a mixtape. Kids that are watching, if you don't know what a mixtape is, go ask your parents. She made me a mixtape of what she thought were the best U2 songs up to whatever, 1996 or whatever the hell year it was. And so I listened to that. I don't remember what was on it. That tape was long since disappeared. But I remember as I went through that, some of the stuff from Joshua Tree immediately hit me. Like, my favorite song for the longest time, and it's still up there, is Where the Streets Have No Name. Mm-hmm. Just the way the Edge plays guitar, he picks a few notes, but he uses it to build this sonic whatever. It's unlike guitar playing I'd heard by anybody else. And that song is just incredible, how it starts from nothing and builds to this big, giant cacophony of sound. So I really like this. And then I loved Rattle and Hum, which is an album not a lot of folks like.
Best U2 album right there.
And then I discovered U2's Achtung Baby. And the girlfriend at the time, she loved this album. And I still think this is one of their best. The Fly, Mysterious Ways, Ultraviolet, Zoo Station, even better than The Real Thing. One, which is maybe one of their best songs, Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses, Until the End of the World. I mean, goddamn, every one of those is an incredible song. So I remember going to Sam the Record Man in Toronto, right downtown at Yonge and Dundas, which was kind of the most iconic music store in Canada. It's no longer there. The sign's still there, but the store's not. and I bought this. This is an original first pressing of this album. So I have that girl to thank for introducing me to U2. Is still one of my favorite bands today. And those other albums, make me think a lot of her. Very important in early Rob's life. So there you go.
And then Record Store Day, you done the full circle, mate. You got the album you wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, so look, what was I saying? My favorite U2 album is Joshua Tree.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Not my favorite, but I love it. It's so good.
Right, Mr. Florida, try and beat that. Where you go, mate?
Well, so all right, try and beat that. Well, my story, similar to Rob's, will be to the next segment, of course. What time is it? Okay, we'll have time for that. Okay, so that friend of mine keeps introducing me to music, and he shows me this other cassette. It's all cassettes right now. A lot of cassettes happening. This is just before. This is still like 80s, before CDs are really, or we can afford them. Because I remember when CDs came out, I was like, I can't afford that crap. Like ridiculously priced. So we were trading cassettes and albums and stuff like that. And he brings this cassette up, Slow Hand. And yeah, this was another one of those moments where I'm like, what is this sound? Like Cocaine had a different sound than I'd heard. The way the guitar was, the effects on the guitar and just the song itself.
Trust me, it does.
Huh?
Trust me, Cocaine does.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Especially those cruise ship days.
There you go. That's coming next.
Yeah. There you go. I always and this is one of my favorite album covers too. I don't know. It's got the Fender Strat. This probably started my fascination with the Strats. That's my favorite guitar is the Fender Strat. And just something about just him holding the chord. I don't know. It's not a lot to it, but it's just a killer looking album. But yeah, it has Wonderful Tonight's on there. I like the song. It's not exactly my favorite Clapton song. But Lay Down Sally's on here. Maybe Never, Me No Frisco. And then I always thought Peaches and Diesel, it's an instrumental. But I don't know, it's different than anything I'd heard at the time. It was a nice, cool, just instrumental song. So this started my fascination with Clapton. And at this time, obviously, this album had been out for a while. So bringing it to the current time that and Clapton, he started getting more radio play, especially like when that Color of Money song came out, It's in the Way That You Use It. That got my interest. And also he had done a beer commercial, I think it's for Michelob, and he redid his recording of After Midnight. So that was getting a lot of play. I even went down to a local brewery and they were handing out posters of Clapton. I don't have that anymore. I wish I had that, of Clapton and the Michelob thing. So it's kind of cool. So I'm getting more into Clapton here. And that's what brought me to this album. And that has the first track on there is It's in the Way That You Use It. And I just liked everything else on here. He does some stuff with Tina Turner. What was the other one? Holy Mother's on here. I've never ever heard that song, but that's a good song. So this got played like crazy. So I'm getting into Clapton and I'm backtracking a little bit, and I discovered this album, Behind the Sun. And this was produced by Phil Collins, so it has a lot of good drum work on there. It does have some 80s kind of sound or production, but had a lot of big songs on here. She's Waiting. What was it? What was the other? Forever Man's on here. I thought he had 3 songs, but every song on this is really good. And I always like the artwork. It's kind of cool. So that kind of got me going on the Clapton kick. And of course I realize, some of these older songs that I've heard before, this guy's been around for a while. So that's when I discovered, it's already covered, but I'll cover it again. This album. Blind Faith, if you've never heard it, you better run out and get it now, because this just never got old. People were listening to Flock of Seagulls and I was listening to Blind Faith, kind of like you, Rob. You're listening to the band, everybody's listening to current stuff. I was on a 60s kick at this point. So I was playing this, and then of course John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. It was different. again, I was discovering all this music now, and Clapton was kind of, a lot of people didn't like his change after his bands in the 60s. They didn't like a lot of his stuff in the 70s, but he changed. He was able to change and not go full 80s. He was able to incorporate different sounds through the different decades and stay right there. Like, he had his finger on a lot of stuff. I don't know if he was a true like innovator, but he could definitely move with the times and stay relevant, because he does August, which is a pretty 80s sounding song album also, and then after around he turns around and does like Journeyman, and that brings it back a little bit. That album got a little bit darker, took all the I think there's maybe just a little bit of that 80s keyboard production there, but not so much. And then he turns around and does like Unplugged and did that blues album in the early 90s. So he was able to do so many different things. You look at the difference between like Cream and Derek and the Dominoes to the Blues Breakers to his solo stuff in the 70s, where he was influenced by the band and by Bob Dylan and all these guys. So he was able to stay himself, but like change. So he's got an interesting career. So getting into him kind of made me realize all these different, and that's my introduction to the blues, of course, listening to his stuff. So that was kind of a cool eye opener to what else music could offer and one artist could do. So it got me more excited about music and discovering more artists. So that is the one. So Clapton, Slow Hand was the beginner for me.
I know that I noticed on Amazon the other day, the greatest hits is coming out on splattered white vinyl, I think.
Which one? I don't know. He's got so many.
There's a picture of him looking into the distance with a white background. He's wearing his glasses. He's got short hair.
Oh yeah, I don't know. He's got so many comps, and yeah.
So I might pick that up to get me started with Clapton.
We should.
Yeah. The only stuff I didn't care for too much was the Pilgrim era, where he went full electronic drums. I've learned to appreciate the album more because he was in mourning. He wanted to create this totally depressing album. His son had passed away. In fact, the album August was named after the month his son was born. So that kind of is significant. That one. And there's a couple songs that he puts on some comps from that. I'm like,
There was a big thing in the UK that a lot of people didn't like Eric Clapton because he didn't believe in COVID. So
him and Van Morrison, that team, yeah. That's where I have to put it that part of it aside and go, okay, I just love this music and not focus on the.
And he's like, well, why can't I play my gig? I'm like, mate, the whole world's in lockdown.
Yeah,
there's a reason behind why we're in lockdown here. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, that's why I didn't buy his last album, because he's got that song on there, "I've Had Enough" or whatever. And you're you're whining, dude. What the hell? What's stopping you? I mean, why can't you just? I don't know.
He's a dickhead for a whole bunch of reasons, but you set it aside and enjoy the music.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think Rob on his video the day he covered Wankers. I think so. Did Clapton come up on that one? I can't remember.
Oh, on our Wankers episode, he was unanimously chosen by all of us as the greatest of the Wankers.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's an artist I would love to see live.
I would. Yeah, I got to see him once in the early '90s, but it was disappointing because where we saw him, it was so distorted. And I was excited because we had floor seats, and it was right after the acoustic thing, and I'm like, cool. And even in the acoustic numbers, where he came out and did the new rendition of Layla, was distorted. I couldn't hear a damn thing the whole concert. So
more than seeing Richard Ashcroft and Ian Brown too, Chris, the COVID thing. Yeah. I remember that happening.
They took a stand for no reason on that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Right. Anyway, we move on to me. So we're going late 90s, and I'm going to cover the 2000s now. So a big band, the massive impact on my life was Green Day, believe it or not. Time of My Life. That's the first time I ever heard of Green Day. It was on MTV, MTV2, MTV Rock, that kind of channels. Good Riddance, Time of My Life. The shortest song you could possibly imagine. I remember it getting released it was on the radio, the top 40. And you remember the old tape decks used to get, guys, where you'd have twin decks, and I'd record the top 40.
Yep.
And I remember being outside and trying to run upstairs, and I missed like half the song. It was kind of like
Yeah.
kids. You never know what that's like these days.
No.
Record it, but yeah, Green Day in the late '90s into 2000s. They had so many good hits. Um, so you've got Basket Case, big massive one. You've got Good Riddance, Minority Warning. What else you got? I'm trying to think of the older ones, but and then obviously they become it with American Idiot, going further on into the 2000s. So this is Green Day. Really love this band, and to this day, my favorite album they ever released was Nimrod. Probably
Hmm.
because probably because of the time in my life, Good Riddance, because I was really into them then. That was kind of like my era for them. And then early 2000s, there was a band that came over from Las Vegas that Rob absolutely fucking hates. But they were so big in Britain. It was the Killers. They
Hmm.
were massive. They were everywhere. John Peel were like playing them on his radio all the time, late night.
Yeah, I like the Killers. They're good.
They
Yeah.
done the John Peel stage in Glastonbury. They've done it a few times. You know, Mr. Brightside was like the anthem for Britain at one point. And every honestly, if you there was an interview the Killers did, and they said everybody from America thinks we're British for some reason. We don't know why, because we were bigger in Britain at one point than we were in America. So Jenny was a friend, Mr. Brightside, Read My Mind, Human, The Slants. I've said this to the guys before. The newer stuff they're doing isn't great. So that's the
Neither's
inside.
the old stuff.
But the old stuff is just brilliant. And then we go from the Killers to another John Peel artist that got discovered, that got handed to John Peel as a tape, and that was the White Stripes. Now, they were massive over here as well. They done BBC Radio one big weekend. They done kind of Glastonbury, and they done all the festivals. Massive, massive over here in Britain. Um, and that's the band there. And obviously, you had, Seven Nation Army was everywhere. It was on every advert, every commercial. It was kind of, every introduction to any radio station, we're always playing Seven Nation Army. But yeah, this is enough for me. The greatest hits, I think.
Yeah.
I find with the White Stripes, there's a lot of fillers on the albums. But I like him. I don't like Jack on his own. If I'm being honest, I preferred him when he was in the White Stripes. I know there's a lot of people maybe disagree with me. And then we'll fast forward to 2007. I had a chance to go on a cruise ship in America because my trade is I'm a barber by trade. And there was an advert in the local paper saying we were looking for barbers to work on cruise ships all over the world. I was like, well, whatever. And I remember sitting in the car park with my dad, and my dad had to come with me because I had to do a hot shave on his face, cutthroat blade. Um, I'll tell you a little story. So we
Cut-
walk in there, and there's 200 women half naked having massages. And my dad just goes behind me, whispers in my ear, and goes, "You're gonna love this job, mate." So I got to America. They said, "You're going to New York." I was like, "Okay." I remember ringing my dad, going, he's like, "Mate, if you don't go, I'm going instead of you."
I'm gonna learn how to
And
cut hair.
I said, "Any advice?" He goes, "Fuck him and leave him." And that's when I discovered this guy, Mr. John Mayer. He was played
Good night,
everywhere.
everybody. I'm
I
leaving.
know. Yeah, I know he was going to say that. But this was my gateway into John Mayer.
Wasn't he engaged to Taylor Swift at one time?
Broke our
Let's not
hearts.
talk about that, John.
Yeah, Mr. John Mayer. Love a bit of John Mayer. Love the guitar. Good lyricist. And yeah, so that was my gateway into going to 2000s. And then I came home in between cruise ships. Kind of heard of this band, but not big. And then this was the time of don't know if I can mention this word, but there was a lot of pirating music going on at the time. um,
It's
and
true.
um, this came on the radio, and the song "All My Life" come on, and it was the Foo Fighters,
Mhm.
and I love this band. I've seen them twice live, absolutely amazing. And I've told the story before. I don't know if Rob wants me to tell the story again because he always
Go
gets
for it.
personal. But the first time I see the Foo Fighters, they were supporting Oasis on their last ever tour. And then I watched them again then last year or the year before. Was it the year before or last year? Last year, I think. And the support act was Wet Leg. So another big band coming from Britain was going to be Wet Leg. They're going to be massive.
They're getting big over here too. Yeah.
Yeah, Dave Grohl is. I don't like, and I'm going to be very controversial here. I think Nirvana is shit, but I think the Foo Fighters are much better. I prefer Dave Grohl as the vocalist rather than listening to Kurt Cobain. It's
I'm
better.
probably down the
Fair.
middle. It's probably my favorite Nirvana is like a compilation, even though I like Nevermind. But I can't get through
Yeah.
Foo Fighters albums. I like their Essential collection though. I play
Yeah.
the crap out of the Essential collection.
Yeah, well, that's why I picked the greatest hits. That I've got two of them. I got the greatest hits. You got the essentials. I like
Yeah.
the new album they brought out. Was it 2-3 years ago? That was really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Foo Fighters greatest hits is pretty much all you need. But I just prefer Dave as a lead rather than Kurt. So
He's got more of a pure voice. He's got a good voice. I enjoy his voice, and Kurt was more of a screamer, more of a gravelly. Yeah.
Mhm.
right, let me go through the comments real quick before I hand it back over. Clapton is a wanker among wankers.
Wankers. He's the king wanker.
King
So-
Oda Wankers.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's my 2000s. Richard, what you got, mate?
All right. Looking at the time, I'm still in the 90s, for God's sake.
Is this last round?
No, we got another one to go.
Okay, cool.
Okay, good. I will consolidate the 2000s
Yes.
pretty effectively. 90s for me was pretty much the era of CDs. So I actually chose CDs to show for this round. So beginning of the 90s, I was out on my own, making my own living, teaching schools, blah, blah, blah. And Nirvana came around. So yes, we went
Yes.
grunge.
Yes.
But I became a bigger fan of Pearl Jam than Nirvana.
Mhm.
And that ticket on there is my Lollapalooza 92 ticket that I saw here in Denver
Oh, cool.
with Ministry and Lush and Pearl Jam and Red Hot Chili Peppers and I think Ice-T was a rapper. that
Rich,
was
do
on
you,
it.
know, do you know what I think it is, though, with me? It's Nirvana's totally overplayed. It's, how many times you're going to hear Teen Spirit? It's kind of, give us something else.
Yeah. Well, Teen Spirit got way overplayed, obviously. I like the deeper cuts of
Yes.
Nirvana. And,
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain passed, and I really I was into like Heart Cheap Box.
Yeah.
The later Nirvana. I love that stuff.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where he would have gone.
Where am I at? Okay. Carrying on with Bob Mould formed Sugar. I was hugely, hugely, hugely into Sugar, and I still love. Everything Bob Mould related with Husker Du, his solo stuff, and Sugar. I lapped it all up. In the 90s is when I discovered My Bloody Valentine. So this was my intro to shoegaze. Even though this album came out in '89, I really didn't discover it till maybe the mid '90s, and then I had to backtrack with shoegaze. So I got into bands like Cocteau Twins. I think this was actually really early '90s, and Ride. I was into them big time. Also, did not see Ride until This is a 2015 show that I saw in Washington when I went to go visit. But I saw them here when they did their reunion thing. The 90s were also the year I really got into another completist band for me, and that was Feeder. So again,
here we go. Come on, mate. Come on.
you knew it was coming. You knew this was coming. So I bought this on the strength I had heard the song High, not on the radio, it might have been on the internet. I was on AOL back in those days. Good Lord. But anyway, starting to discover a lot of music in the late 90s through the internet and, indie radio and stuff like that. Heard the song High on the radio, bought this in a little shop in Washington, D.C., fell in love with the whole thing. I was like, this is great. This is my thing. It's guitar rock, which has always been my jam. So Feeder became another completist band, as is Ride, My Bloody Valentine, all of those. It seems like once I really get, hooked into a band, I'm in it. And until you make a bad album that I don't like, I'll probably buy everything that comes out. So that takes us through the 90s. I want to whiz through that because I want other people to have turn to. There. Cool. Next coming up in 2000s, and I can consolidate that pretty well.
All I will say, Feeder were on a projection where they were going to be so big, and then the drummer obviously killed himself. And I always think, I wonder where it would have gone for them, because they were like on the way to being bigger than, well, not bigger, but on the same
they were
level.
Big.
Yeah.
Yeah. The album that came out right then was the one that they're reissuing this year, Comfort and Sound.
Yes, I'm going to get
coming up next month, and I'm ordering it because it has expanded stuff on the CD version. I'm getting both the vinyl and the CD. But I was surprised when they reissued that. I really don't think they're going to reissue their back catalog out of respect. That's my hunch because they haven't done it yet. And those are the albums everyone's, I want to get Echo Park on vinyl. I would love Echo Park on vinyl. But yeah, we'll see.
Let me show the comments real quick. Yes, Scotland's Finest, Cocktail Twins. Love that album.
I love all Cocktail Twins because Elizabeth Fraser's voice is stunning.
Nobody's going to understand what the hell's going on here. This is actually Welsh because Morton speaks Welsh.
Okay.
Yeah. Chris is getting reeled up. Yeah. Right. Okay. Rob, what have you got?
Okay. So all of you three have talked about the band or the artist that we knew you'd all talk about, right? The one that sort of defines. So now I'm going to do that for me.
I feel like we need an intro for this.
In 2000.
Yes.
I discovered Blue Rodeo.
Yes!
Dun, dun, dun.
There's a Blue Rodeo video coming in the next couple of weeks, folks. I promise. I'm sorry that I talk about these guys a lot, but this band, I don't have the words to express how important these guys are to my life. Now, people watching, like I know someone from Scotland goes, "Who the hell is Blue Rodeo?" They are a alt country rock band, you could say, in Canada, from Toronto, which is not too far from where I live. Hence the hat and the shirt. And we won today, by the way. We beat the
well, mate.
Yay.
I say we like I had any influence in
Absolutely. You got the chain, your roommate, your partner.
That's right. Yeah. So these guys have been around since 1987. They put out, I don't know, 16 albums, something like that. They're in the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. They're one of our most highly regarded bands. I remember when they came out in the late 80s, early 90s. Like I remember the buzz in the music industry because this was a little something different. If you're familiar with like Uncle Tupelo and what they were doing with alt country in the late 80s, this was kind of the Canadian version of that, but there's also a component of them sort of, relating the Canadian experience. So it's kind of unique. I think it's incredible. But I just sort of knew of them in the background. And then I watched a lot of Much Music, again, our version of MTV. And I remember the video for the song Somebody Waits coming on. I'm like, oh, well, this is not like anything that I have heard. And I bought this album, and they happened to be coming to my town within a few months. So I found one of their other albums in a bargain bin, and I bought it. I'm like, oh, I know that song. And they didn't realize that I knew some of the hits. And this began my love affair with this band. they're basically a local band for me because they're from Toronto, which is 45 minutes away from where I live. I've seen them in concert 54 times. I have met everyone in the band. I am good friends with the guy that played in the band for 20 years. He's been on my channel before. There are so many milestones in my life that relate to this band. They were, a couple of their songs were played at my wedding, or, when my son was born, the two frontmen, these two guys, Jim and Greg, they sent me a video congratulating my wife and I and welcoming my son to the world. I mean, these guys their music is so amazingly important to my life, and I discovered them in 2000. This is an album that is, first of all, nearly impossible to find on vinyl. The band hates this album and never plays anything off of it live. I think it's their best album. I'm going to do a video about that in a week or so I won't elaborate on it any further. But going to see them again for the 54th time with my wife this fall. So that's that. And I got one more band to talk about this round.
Is it the
This
last
band's
one?
already been mentioned before. God damn it, I can get to this story, but Fleetwood Mac.
Yes.
A band that is very important to me musically. This was also my dad's favorite band. And I love every verse. This is Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. This is the first Fleetwood Mac album from 1968. This is when they were a British blues band. This is before the lineup changes that would become the Rumors lineup. I love this lineup, the transitional lineup, the Rumors lineup, post-Rumors lineup. I love every version of Fleetwood Mac. I don't care. I love all of it. I think it's all great. My dad was a big fan of the Peter Green era Fleetwood Mac, and he liked the Rumors lineup as well. I bought him this copy of the self-titled debut when I was in London, England, in 2001. I was on a trip, and I went into Tower Records at Piccadilly Circus, and they had this, and I bought it, and I brought it home for my dad, and he was thrilled. When he passed away, I kept this. When Fleetwood Mac reunited the Rumors lineup in the mid-2000s for the Say You Will tour, I surprised my dad with tickets, and he was thrilled. It's the only time my dad and I ever got to go to a concert, and I got to take him to his favorite band, and it was an incredible experience. This is the tough part of the story for me. This is a Fleetwood Mac album that most people don't even know exists. It's called Time, and it came out in 1995. It was a one-off lineup with Dave Mason, Becca Bramlett, and Billy Burnett. And it's the band kind of doesn't acknowledge that this exists anymore. It's only ever available on CD. I think it's a very, very good album. Mick, John, and Christine are still on it. I enjoy it a lot. This holds a pretty significant spot in my musical, soundtrack or whatever. My dad died in 2009 in a very horrific incident. He was battling cancer, but he died of an aneurysm that nobody knew he had, including his doctors. And it was a week before my wedding, and I got the call from my mom. She goes, "You got to get to the house." I drove across town, and I got home, and paramedics were working on Dad, but he was dead on the kitchen floor, and that was incredibly traumatic. And 16 years later, I'm still profoundly affected by it. I get back home at 2 o'clock in the morning that night, and my wife and I just go downstairs to my office, and the only thing I could think of was, let's put on some Fleetwood Mac. And so this was the one that I pulled at random, and that got me through that night. So there you go. Somebody else go now.
John.
Oh, great. Thanks, guys.
All of that, John. All of that.
Rob, I thought you were going to pull the little hobo.
Could have.
Okay, Johnny boy, what's going on? Go on, mate. Go for it.
All right. So, okay. Coming of age time. Here we go. So we're getting into the late 80s and, middle school and going to just getting ready to go over into the high school thing. Got the first girlfriend and where the hell did I put, oh, I was going to show you guys this one. So, segueing into Fleetwood Mac, actually that segue is pretty good because I was in a record store.
I planned it that way, John.
Yeah, this actually worked out pretty good. So listening, and I'm like, what are you playing? Because they were playing some song that wasn't on the radio, and I asked them. I said, it's back in the day when they actually put a record and played it in the record store. It's kind of cool. And I was like, what is this? And they said it's Fleetwood Mac, Tango in the Night. And this is that Rhino release. And this thing, I just played it today, and it sounds so good. They did a really good job of making this nice and warm, and they did a really good job.
Sorry, John, is that a Rhino release?
Yeah, this is the Rhino release. It just came out. So, and this is one of my favorite Fleetwood Mac albums. So, because it has the radio hits that got overplayed, like Big Love, which I still like all these songs. Little Lies got played. Seven Wonders, at least here in the States, Everywhere got played. But there's two songs on here that I think are like, especially one of them is like Lindsay's like best like rock song. It just turns into an all out rocker, which is Tango in the Night. There's a part where the guitar solo kicks in, Mick Fleetwood's just banging the drums, and it's a rock song. It goes from this kind of poppy sounding song, or 80s sounding song into this rock song. It's just killer. And then the one just before it, Caroline, it's just some of Lindsay's best work ever. So I definitely picked this up. It was still a cassette. I think I got it on cassette when I first got it. But I did have to have this on vinyl and this is not a pop on it. Sounds clean. Yeah, so if you like this album, I'd pick it up on the Rhino release. It's really good. I don't know if you said yours was numbered. I don't think this was numbered.
Yeah, I had a limited edition numbered 5,000 copies. It got released like a month ago, 2 months ago, something like that.
Okay, because I think there's another copy, the one that you showed, coming out next week or something, and it's not your version.
Buckingham and Nick's one.
Yeah.
Us real fans have the originals, just saying.
Yeah. I have the original Buckingham Nicks, but I got stupid with it. I've got 3 copies of the Buckingham Nicks coming in as well as on CD.
Jesus.
But I went stupid on it. So I have the 2 color variants. I have the straight out Rhino analog, and then I have it on CD. So we'll do some listening and see how that goes out. So anyway, during that time, first girlfriend, don't know what the heck to do with her, it just faded off, because she was more experienced. Again, she was probably like 3 years older than I was. So I was too slow for her. I didn't know what to do with that girl.
Work too fast.
Yeah. But that works out better later. So
sorry, I just got that joke then. Go on.
Yeah. Yeah.
John just ignored it.
Yeah. So later on, you first another relationship, and she's a little bit older, and this is a big album. And when I first met her, Love Bites, all that stuff is on here, So this is a very important album right here, because this was playing nice and loud at a time, so that was cool. And then at the same time, this album comes out. So it's kind of interesting. This was like at the beginning of the relationship when things were all good, and so Love Bites came into play even better later. So things weren't going so great. Ends up, and then start listening to Love Bites more, but then of course Sacrifice was on here.
Yes, mate.
Yeah. So I had it on cassette, had my Walkman, and I would just, because I knew things weren't going to work out, and there's a whole story behind it, but and at
John,
that age,
it was a walk and talk with John before it was walk and talk.
Yeah, it was. Exactly. That was the inspiration for Walk and Talk, the big breakup. So I just played the crap out of it on cassette, just kept Sacrifice going and going and going. But during that time, discovered a couple new things. This guy, I've shown him before, but I like to show him, John Butcher, and this album Wishes. He had a couple songs. Which one was this single? I can't remember. Maybe Show Some Emotion, but this is a really good album. It has an 80s feel to it, but he's a really good guitar player. lot of Hendrix type licks in there. But just a really good album. If you get a chance to, you can't even play it. It's not on streaming services or anything. I have, anytime I find it, I grab it. I have 2 copies of it on vinyl, and I have 1 copy on CD. I haven't found it on CD, but if you see it, it's not usually not a lot of money, but it's worth picking up. So John Butcher, Wishes. And during this time, hanging out with friends, new music's coming out, listening to the radio. And this is where I first got my taste of Tom Petty.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I knew Tom Petty, just you knew the songs. I remember early MTV, Refugee, and all those songs. They were cool, but I was, just there again. My ADHD just didn't pay attention. I was all over the place. So got into, when I Won't Back Down came on, I was like, okay, all right. There's something about that song that just boom hit me in the face, and then Free Fallin' came out and all that. And I was like, okay, got my first Tom Petty album. I think I got it on CD first, I'm pretty sure. And then, of course, I'm like, I like every song on this. What else, where are we going to go from here? So I backtracked a little bit and picked up,
it's a good album.
what do you call it? Southern Accents, which was supposed to be his, it is a kind of an ode to the South, his roots in upper Florida there. It does have that feel, but it does have 80s production. And some people say it doesn't fit, but I think Don't Come Around Here No More does fit. It's a very psychedelic sounding song, but it fits the feel of the album. I don't feel like you listen to it and it takes you out of the album or anything. But songs like Rebels and, growing up in Florida, I knew these guys. I knew these rebel guys that were just pains in the asses, and they were just showing their Southern roots. And I'm like, you're just a bunch of assholes is what you are. So that's when I knew I wasn't a true Floridian at heart, because I grew up with these guys, And I was like, what are these guys doing, But the song Southern Accents is probably pretty close to my favorite Tom Petty song. Just the feel of that song, capturing, talking about his mother, because his mother had passed away, and he's talking about his mother in this song, how she came to visit him in a dream and things like that. So great. And then, of course, that led me to Into the Great Wide Open, which is a very slick 80s sounding album, but I still think it works. I mean, it's, I think Jeff Lynne? Yeah, Jeff Lynne produced it. So right around the time of the Wilburys and all that stuff. But yeah, this still a great album. It is kind of a 80s picture snapshot, but I think it still holds up. And again, not a bad track on this album. And it was pretty long. How long was this thing? Only 12 tracks, but they were pretty decent sized songs. But he had a lot of hits off this. So that's going into the late 80s. And then I think this is like 91. So we're going into that threshold of 90s. And that's where I started kind of, okay, who's this Tom Petty guy, and realizing how much really good stuff. And of course, now I have everything that he put out. So, yep, there you go. Into the early 90s.
My favorite Tom Petty album is Wildflowers.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Like
I go between that and Southern Accents.
Yeah,
I kind of go between those, but yeah, and I got to get into his later stuff. I have it, but I got to get more familiar with it. I kind of lost touch with his music, and then when he passed, of course, I'm like, oh, got me back into him. But it's really good stuff, even with Hypnotic Eye and all that. It's really good stuff.
I discovered him in lockdown, believe it or not.
Yeah.
When he got re-released, I think, on vinyl. And I was like, oh, I've kind of heard of Tom Petty, but it was kind of, what's this? Like, but it was brilliant.
Is that when Wildflower, that whole box set thing came out? Yes. Was that during? Oh, okay.
Yes. Lockdown.
Yeah. That's a great place to start with him.
Yeah. Right, let's go through the comments real quick. Fleetwood Mac, my mum's favorite band. Their debut album is great. Played everything at my mum's funeral. A band that gives me fond memories of my parents. Many thanks and entertainment stream tonight, gentlemen. I'm off to bed. I'm going to restart in the morning. Cheers, mate. Thanks very much. Morton, Jack, Boz, Rob, Chris, Richard, etc. Finished uploading threads prompts for Christian, and now I have to go to sleep. Thanks for great talk. Cheers. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it very much. Right. I'm up next. This is the last round because we've gone past the 2-hour mark. But So vinyl has done a full circle for me. And this is Rob's fault, but in a good,
Well, it isn't my fault. Good
in a
God.
good way. In a good way.
Oh, okay.
So he introduced me to this guy, which has changed my vinyl collecting outlook. And it's Mr. Bruce Springsteen. My favorite album is still Nebraska, even though, Lost Tracks is. I was listening to it today. I often send Rob pictures on Instagram going, "Oh, I'm listening to it again. What have I done?"
Yep.
But anybody going to start with Bruce, probably this is a good place to start. I'd say the first greatest hits or the essentials, but you need to get into Nebraska and there's other albums that are amazing. What was the album you listened to the other day, Rob? You said the Need is Good in Nebraska. You were saying about the what album was it? It was
Whatever of you, letters to you or whatever.
Letters to you.
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but if you want to start with Bruce, and I was on the fence with this guy, to be honest, because I just knew Born in the USA. I knew because of the streets of Philadelphia, but listening to the Lost Tracks, especially the songs from what he was going to bring out with Philadelphia, from the VC community itself. Recommendations I've had from Rob, I've had from Richard, I've had from so many people going, you check out this artist, artists you've forgotten about. So, but yeah, that's that one. And then you got Record Store Day, which I never knew existed till I started uploading videos. I think it's coming up to 5 years in November since I started the channel. And my first ever purchase on Vinyl Store Day was the Ramones Greatest Hits.
Oh yeah.
Greatest Hits won't surprise anybody. But I just thought for the Ramones, because I remember Richard from the Dale's record shop when, if you want to get into Ramones, this is a good chance to get into them because this is the greatest hits.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Be a good opportunity to get into. And then we come full circle where other channels, like I said, recommend songs, recommend albums. Rob's recommended so many good albums to me that I'm going to do in the next video. But this guy is fucking epic. I mean, I can't say enough. This guy.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So, and I was watching his Instagram stories today when he went back there, Rob. Did you see it?
Yep.
He was like, I was expecting like in the middle of nowhere, but he's literally gone off a mountain and it's like, it's there. The lighthouse is there.
And it's only 10 feet tall.
So this is Adam Baldwin, and I've ordered, I think the EP, the one
No Rest
before
for the Wicked.
Yeah. So, if
It's good. That's going to be a lot different than what that album.
yeah, I know, but I'm in the process of trying to.
Yeah.
Another band I need to mention slightly is the band that Rob got me into as well, which is I absolutely love them. Bob Dylan keeps kid up on Apple Music, and I just fucking skip the shit out of that. But yeah,
Damn.
if nobody's
Sit on an anthill and it'll sound better.
A cheese grater on your balls comes to mind. But if nobody's heard of this guy, I think Rob did it the best of the week on the live stream. He was like, if you like Springsteen, you may like this guy. So recommendations from the vinyl community, which I thought would never happen because I was so like in my own like bubble. I thought, oh, there's only the Stereophonics, but
every time I see you post a video, I go, oh God, it's my fault he spent more money.
Yeah.
Lately, it seems.
But yeah, if there wasn't, I love watching videos on YouTube from the vinyl community because you get to discover new music all the time. Things that you never thought you'd have.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the stories behind it and what it meant to that person when they picked it up in that time in their life. And now they're passing on the knowledge to other people that have never heard of that band, wouldn't have ever discovered that band if it wasn't for the vinyl community. So,
yep,
true.
And they
Right.
still don't want us to play their music.
No. So, especially it's Brian Adams. That's just for you, Joe. There you go. Richard.
All right, welcome to the 2000s, and I'm actually going to be able to summarize this pretty quickly. Here's why. Beginning of the 2000s, I was into CDs, and then the vinyl resurgence kind of bloomed. For me, it was about 2005, give or take, and I just kind of went from, didn't really slam the door on CDs, but I went back to buying vinyl. But anyway, beginning of the 2000s, I was trying to find really different stuff from anything that was being played in the United States because I could not stand what was being played on the radio or on satellite radio or whatever. So I discovered Scotland's Biffy Clyro and became an absolute completist, sort of math rock, alt indie. They've gotten a little bit more mellow over the years, but I love them. I discovered Manchester's basically krautrock / prog rock band called Amplifier. Have everything by them. I discovered Frank Turner out of the UK, and this was the first album I bought called Sleep for the Week. Kind of started out as, he used to be a kind of a metalhead. He was in a band called Million Dead, who I saw at Reading on one of their last shows. Then he went solo and kind of went folky, but with a bent, kind of an angst guy. That's kind of calmed down over the years, but he still does some great things. In early 2000s, I discovered the Arctic Monkeys, who were nothing in the United States for the longest time until probably, I would say, their second album, or one of their singles might have broke, but I was into them long before anyone knew who the hell they were here. But then the vinyl resurgence started and Record Store Day and all of those things. And I discovered groups like The National, who I've seen pretty much every tour since the Alligator album came out, which was the one before this. Saw The National in a very teeny venue that holds about 500 people, if that. And then I've seen them in stadiums. So that's become my my music taste of what I'm listening to now. Out of Scotland, the Twilight Sad, who have become like the Cure's standing opening band. I absolutely love this. It's kind of dark and moody, but it's right up my alley, and it has a lot of, look at that album cover. This has a lot of angst to it, and so I love the Twilight Sad. Couple more, and one that Chris will recognize. Into groups like the War on Drugs, who just have that breezy, flowy Sunday morning vibe. I absolutely love these guys. Seen them again in the same venue that I saw the National in, teeny weeny place. Now they're playing huge arenas and whatnot. I have been influenced by the VC to introducing me to bands that I'd really never heard of, wanted to hear about, but couldn't find. Gee, I wonder who got me this.
Now we're cooking with gas, then.
So groups, just from the VC, discovering new bands that I knew about but didn't know about because they were not, part of the fabric of music society here in the States. Stereophonics. I love this album.
Isn't it quite funny?
Morning staple.
Isn't it quite funny how the VC get the album that they think is good for you on your personality, on your listening kind of trends, rather than just sending you music going, I think Richard might enjoy this, or Rob will enjoy this cocktail, that kind of thing.
That guy right over there has influenced me in all kinds of ways, and I think he knows some of them too. And of course, I'm still buying my Gary Newman stuff. So this one came out last month. Biffy Clyro have one coming out next month. Peter have a reissue coming out next month. So, full story is that, throughout my life, music that has stuck with me has stayed with me.
Yeah.
And has, I've either become a completist or at least it became another branch on the tree of what I really enjoy listening to. I can't think of a whole lot of bands where I'm like, oh, I love these bands, or I love this discography, and I'm just like, now I hate it and I got rid of it.
Yeah.
I haven't done that. I really haven't done that. So that's my musical autobiography. Stereo. Who?
Cool. The soundtrack to your life.
The one thing I wanted to say, so Liz sent a message on WhatsApp and she said to me, she said, the make of Richard's t-shirt is the same as my paddle board. So they
Yeah.
make paddle boards as well.
It's a sport
Liz,
company.
you'll be mentioned in the live stream. It's okay. And then she put something like this. That's not me. Rob, that is so true. I think it's about me spending money.
Sorry, Liz. I don't tell him to buy it.
Anyway, guess who's next?
All right. I got 3 to show. I'm going to show them quick, and then I got to run as soon as we're done because the wife's waiting for dinner. She's holding dinner, and if I don't get up soon, I'm going to be in trouble. So
Okay.
I'll have to cut out a couple minutes early. I hope you'll forgive me, but blame the missus.
Yep.
Don't blame the missus because, blame my kid because he's hungry. How about that?
There you go.
Okay. This is a guy that really nobody knew for a very, very long time. But I had a buddy of mine, Brian, who I used to go to a lot of concerts with. We don't see each other a lot anymore, but he's like, man, you got to check out this documentary called Searching for Sugar Man. It's about this guy. He made some albums and they sold nothing and he faded into obscurity. But little did he know, in South Africa, he outsold the Beatles and Elvis. But, the legend grew that he took his life on stage. And I'm like, shit, this sounds pretty damn interesting. I watched the documentary, loved the music. Bought the album, bought the second album as well, Coming From Reality. Just love this guy's music. I had the privilege of seeing him in concert. I met Sixto Rodriguez very briefly. Very, very cool musical memory for me. And the funny thing about this, which always makes me think of the time when I hear his music, when my son was born in 2016, as babies are, they're often difficult to settle down. And there were several evenings where he just wasn't having it. And so we'd go for a car ride and we would play the song I Wonder, which came off of here. And that was the only thing that calmed him down. There are many car rides at 1:00 in the morning when the wife and I are playing I Wonder on repeat just to get the kid to go to sleep. So some fun memories. I absolutely love Rodriguez music. I showed this as a reissue, but I'm fortunate enough, one of my most prized records is I do have a South African first pressing of Cold Fact. So that's pretty cool. 2 more quick to show here, which kind of takes me to where I am today. These are just 2 artists of a group or large plethora of musicians, if you will. One of the things I talk a lot about on my channel that I know is a very niche audience, but it's something I'm passionate about. I love Canadian music because I get to see it, right? I get to see all these people in concert, and I just think we have such an incredibly rich musical landscape that doesn't really get heard outside of our country because we got this giant wall of sound slightly to the south that is the United States, and there's not a lot of the good music that makes it out into the world beyond here. So I just love celebrating those artists that are proud of our country as I am, and I just love what they create. So just 2 examples of that. I'm a massive fan of this guy, Matt Mays. He's been making albums for 20 years. He's a rocker from the east coast of Canada, now lives not too far from me. He's got about 8 or 10 albums. Just great straight up rock and roll. So if you like Tom Petty, you'll like Matt Mays. I think it's a fairly fair comparison. This is his debut from 2002, just simply called Matt Mays. Really great stuff. Chris has already mentioned this guy, but this is my other favorite artist of all time, Adam Baldwin, who is actually Matt's guitar player, and then he started doing stuff on his own. This is his debut, simply called Adam Baldwin. Came out in 2013. This is very Bruce Springsteen. He's kind of got the Springsteen look there. And his bandmates joked when they were touring for this album, they used to call him the supervisor because he wasn't quite the boss. This is very
online.
This very Springsteen inspired. Check on his Bandcamp page. You can get it. You can order it from his Bandcamp page.
Okay.
get all of his albums. This one's signed. I've met Adam countless times. Super nice dude. Just a great straight up rock record. So just two of my favorite examples. There is probably 50 artists that are Canadian that I listen to all the time, and I see them whenever they're in town. I have 1,000 records here, and I would imagine 400 of them are Canadian. So there's a lot of great music here, and that's kind of what I'm into nowadays.
That's brilliant. It's just before you go, she said, Liz said, Rob, not entirely your fault. He has no self-control.
I'll take that. Even if it's a little bit, as long as it's not entirely.
Yeah, he's not taking you completely off the hook there. Yeah,
that's okay. I got a little bit of room to breathe there. So, listen, guys, I'm sorry that I got to cut short, but family wants to eat, so I got to run. Thank you for having me, Chris. Richard, this was an awesome topic. I loved it. John, always fun doing stuff with you, my friend.
Yep, good to
Chris,
see you.
we'll connect and we'll get together for Wednesday.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, mate.
All right. See you guys. Thanks for having me.
Bye. Right, John.
Hello. Okay, so
Last but not least,
we're gonna get you through the 90s all the way to the present. Here we go.
Go for it, mate.
All right. So for years I had to do this. I'm like, how did I not mention these two albums? Because I listened to them.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It started here, really. Well, I knew these songs because they would play like in an arcade or whatever, but I didn't really pay attention. But this got my attention, and then led to this. And these were two albums I just played. Crazy, still do. So I was like, how do I not mention those two albums? Holy crap. So we get into the 90s, and yeah, it's a little bit of coming of age as far as music for me, and understanding and adapting to different styles. Because I was probably like more of a, with the artists I listened to before, like more vocal purists, like didn't have that weird voice that you couldn't understand or get into. So my friends kept trying to show me Neil Young, and I'm like, no, that guy can't sing. It's horrible. It's out of tune. And eventually, probably that friend of mine introduced me to Billy Joel and Clapton, said, try this one. And yep, this one was the one, Freedom, that just, I was like, okay, I get it. All of a sudden I'm getting it. And that led to other things down that dark path. And if Neil Young is the artist, I have 60, 70 albums between bootlegs, live performances, everything in my collection now. So, because you go to that one, then I'm pretty sure I heard After the Gold Rush, and then I started understanding his voice and once you understood the emotion behind it and the feeling he put into his songs, the voice didn't matter. And now I love the voice. And then of course Harvest. Yeah. So yeah, that led down a path, which also I never had a problem with Dylan's voice. But it got me more of a Dylan kick. These two kind of went side to side. So started off with the Highway 61 Revisited with Like a Rolling Stone and all those great songs. Listen, Dylan's not that bad of a singer. You guys just need to grow up. That's it. You know what? He's another guy, puts all his emotion and everything into the music. So somebody's opening my door over there. What? We're finishing up. It's my wife's turn now to drag me out. Are we going to eat dinner too? Okay, I'm eating dinner too. So, all right. So they got me into Dylan, and he's another artist. I have a ton of his stuff now. Again, it's the feeling, and the lyrics. I mean, the way he writes, and there's a lot more to Dylan than people go, oh, his voice. No, you need to listen to some more Dylan. Then 90s come, and I start, Pearl Jam. I thought about who was the one that I listened to the most between Nirvana and Stone Temple Pilots and all that. And this is the one I keep going back to. I just love this album all the way through. It hasn't gotten old. I still enjoy this album. It was different than the other ones. It wasn't Nirvana or whatever, because when you get to the later parts of the album, it gets more atmospheric and there's a lot going on in there. So this one still stands the test of time. Then I got into other areas. Sheryl Crow puts out this album, Tuesday Night Music Club, and from Run Baby to Run, she had me. This album is great all the way through. Then she got some knocks for not playing all the instruments and writing all the lyrics. So she said, screw you. I'm going to put out my own album. And she produced it on her own and just kicked it up a notch and became a little more rock and roll with this. moody, dark. Like it starts off very dark. If you hear the first song, it's like, what is this? It's like muddy and you know. But she was not afraid to mess with sonics and bring in effects and do all kinds of different stuff. And she had a ton of hits off of this album. And then the third album, she had like the trifecta with the Globe sessions. I mean, if you haven't checked out those three, her first 5 to 6 albums are really, really good. And then she kind of goes off the end for me a little bit. Mid 90s.
My favorite album she ever done was Wildflower.
Yeah, and see that one they don't talk about much, and that's kind of like her little psychedelic sort of album, a little, yeah. And I missed that one because we'll get into a little bit because I kind of lost touch with music for a little bit, and that was during that period, and I went back and caught up with her music a little bit, and then the Beatles. It was about the mid 90s when Anthology came out that I knew the Beatles. I hadn't owned anything at that point. I had other interests, but when that came out and they were getting all the hype and they were releasing a lot of their CDs and doing things, it got my interest. And yeah, I've got everything by the Beatles pretty much that you can get. So got into that. Then we go into kind of right towards the 2000s, and a friend of mine kept telling me about, to check out this Ray Charles set. Wow. Yeah, this was game changing for me. I was like, oh, there's a whole nother world out there. I knew some of the songs, obviously, but not the really good stuff. You knew Hit the Road Jack and all that. But man, I mean, this is a great starter. The Atlantic, I think it's called The Atlantic Year. Right? It's The Birth of Soul. And it's the Atlantic years of Ray Charles. And that completely changed everything. I was like, holy crap. And then we get into around 2004, I had my first child and we had complications. So we spent a lot of time in the hospital and therapies, and I became a stay-at-home dad. So I kind of realized I'd lost touch with music for a good period of time, probably from, having music around, but I wasn't aware. I wasn't buying. It wasn't a main focus of my life. So I became stay-at-home dad. Years and years and years go by, and then lockdown happens, and that. My wife, right around that time, my wife bought me a little Crosley, believe it or not, a Crosley record player. She said, here. And I had probably like 6 albums left, and I had a ton of CDs. And I'm like, huh. So I started playing my albums. I'm like, I wonder if there's a local record store. And then it just, boom, it exploded. Because what I have here and around this room is since lockdown. So it's gone.
Wow.
Insane. But it got me back into it. And one of the first artists I looked into to have on vinyl was Ray Charles. I got all his early stuff, and that kicked it off. And then, of course, I need to get the Billy Joel stuff. I need to get, and it just exploded from there. But that opened up another thing, like you're saying, with YouTube. And I discovered YouTube. And not long after that, I started making my videos. Then you're exposed to so much more music, other people, other tastes, other interests. I mean, last week I had a conversation with a guy in the store about a jazz album. I would have not been able to do that, 4 or 5 years ago.
Nope.
I have a good selection, 2 cubes, you could say, of jazz music over there. Now I have a favorite jazz artist. I know these things now. It's like, holy crap, what happened? I would never have touched jazz, and now I enjoy it. And it brought back my love for the blues, discovering artists like John Lee Hooker that I really didn't pay attention to, and all that. So it's kind of like, music's been part of my life forever. And I had that period where it was kind of there, but now it's back. And now I see with my children and what it does, the influences, what they listen to. I got to take them to Billy Joel last year. Yep. And maybe my last time to see him, but I got to bring them, so yeah, it's really interesting how it's always there. It's always kind of hanging out, and it definitely manifests itself and grows on you.
The YouTube algorithm has got a lot to answer for.
Yes, it does.
Some of the videos you watch, you're like,
oh, I have lists and lists of, I got to check that band out. I'm like, I can't even listen to what I have, and I'm going to listen to new stuff, but bring it,
The hazard of this hobby. Ugh.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that brings you up to today. There's where I am with my music journey.
I loved this tonight. Richard?
Yeah, it's good. That was great.
This was brilliant. I'd like to thank everybody who's watched tonight, everybody who's watching this later, everybody's commented, my guests tonight, Rob from Northern Revolutions, John, I really appreciate you jumping on because I know the time difference is so hard.
Yeah.
And Richard as usual, absolutely fantastic. I love doing these live streams. And I know, John, sometimes you jump on when you're working and you're doing stuff and you leave a comment, and I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. And
Oh yeah.
meeting you for the first time, but
Yeah.
we'll go around the horn really quick. I know what Rob's going to do on Wednesday. He's got the live stream. I'm jumping on now with him. John, what you got going on, mate? I noticed? I think I watched your video today that you put out. So what's going on?
Yeah. I've always have video ideas. It's just finding the time to do the video.
Yep.
And I'm trying to get back. Yeah, right. I'm trying to get back to my. I enjoy doing my walk and talk because it seems like even though I'm walking on a railroad track, I enjoy it because you kind of you're out in nature, nobody's bothering you, and your mind can just go and you can talk about a subject. So I enjoyed that. So that video is basically Glenn Kellaway did a video about his record collection.
Yeah.
We're just talking about organizing it and stuff. But I found a big interest in it, so I went ahead and did a video, and I realized there was more to it than having I came up with a slogan: "No two record collections are the same, like a fingerprint." As far as the way they're organized, I don't think anybody does it the same way. Because it's a psychological thing. But yeah, it's just that I still enjoy doing the videos, so I try to get them out there. I don't really care if I have 1,000 subscribers or 2 watchers. I still enjoy just doing it, creating.
Ethan, sometimes you think, are people actually watching this? Even though I don't, leave. I leave a comment now and again with you, but I'm not leaving a comment every single time because I just think maybe, what the fuck did he want to hear from Chris from again? But
sometimes you enjoy it and you hit the thumbs up and you move on, Yeah.
I'm just going to show this really quick because hang on, wrong one. So Boz, great show, guys. Really quick. I am looking for guests for Thursday night lives. If anyone's interested, let me know. Thanks. So if anybody is interested, get on his channel, let him know. He's on Instagram. And yeah.
Woo! Hard way to find stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So Rich, what's going on in your world, mate? I know you've done a video this week.
Not a whole lot. I feel like I'm just doing a lot of threads right now, but at the same time, I'm just realized a few days ago that my YouTube anniversary is coming up.
Yes.
From now. So I'm toying with some ideas, not really a contest thing, but more of a challenge thing. Kind of relating to looking back on my year in YouTube and where it's taken me. Kind of share the love of what celebrating the VC for what the VC had brought to you in your life. And that's kind of a theme I'm working towards. I gotta tinker with it a little bit, but that's coming up. And then
2 weeks
who
time.
knows what else? Huh?
2 weeks time. You're celebrating 1 year.
It'll be September 8th, so a week from this week. So like next Monday or something. Not this coming Monday.
Just give me an idea for next week's. Right. Okay. So. Yeah, me, recent pickups I think I've done this week at some point. I can't remember which day I put it out. I don't know what's happening half the time. But yeah, do a live stream with Rich usually and Rob every Sunday. I'm on Rob's live stream on Wednesday. If nobody's checked out John, go check him out because the walk and talks, I love them, mate. I was like, Liz was like, why is he walking on a railway track?
They don't come that fast. I'll feel the vibration. I know when to get off the track.
It's like, if I was in Britain, we'd get locked up.
It's true.
But yeah, so maybe next week. I've got an idea for next week. I won't say it out loud. I'll talk to Richard later on about it. But we're going to do something next week. John, thanks again. I really appreciate you jumping on, mate. I know how hard it is. Rich, as usual. Rob, I really appreciate it. And we'll catch you next week. Thanks for everybody for watching, commenting, everything. And we will see you next week. Ciao for now.